Alright guys, the slander is ridiculous. I do not have a Coke can wiener, and I can prove it. I had a lovely fan redraw me. Boom. New art. How does it feel being wrong? You gonna cry? Yeah, you gonna piss your pants because I don't have a penis? Yeah, I was castrated. What are you gonna do about it? Anyways, Jaja, thank you so much for drawing these new poses. I think they look amazing, and I hope all of you get a kick out of them too, and I stop getting comments about my character Skags having an absolute sledgehammer penis. I just had to address that. Go follow her on Instagram, link in the description. Let's get to the video. If you've ever played any of the games from the Souls series, you'd know that a lot of the time the bosses, while being incredibly difficult, tend to be able to be broken down into pattern recognition, and once you understand a boss's pattern, beating them becomes much easier. The FNAF game I'll be talking about today feels the same way. Today, I'll be talking about Mary's Arcade, a FNAF fan game that, in its own creator's words, is, quote, a short, simple FNAF game that wasn't overly dependent on story, avoids using FNAF mechanics like doors and masks, and doesn't rely on randomness or luck, just complete skill, end quote. It was that final part about no randomness or luck that really grabbed my attention, since luck and RNG is the main reason I end up disliking FNAF games. 1020 mode in FNAF 2 is the prime example, but of course, fan games are guilty of this as well. I'm excited to dive into Mary's Arcade. I'm sure there will be no complaining from my end at all, and I'll be totally calm the entire time and will never go feral. Grab a snack and a drink, there's a lot I want to talk about. Mary's Arcade begins with us naming the Night Guard, something that I haven't seen other FNAF games do before. The only reason I'm mentioning it here is because the name shows up on the menu and on your paychecks. It's important for me to say that for these videos. I don't typically use my own footage. I usually borrow footage from full playthroughs and challenge runs from people like Toy Bonbon or Shooter. Rest assured, I do play the games I make videos about. I just use other people's footage for the review videos. Just had to get that out of the way. The gameplay loop of Mary's Arcade is honestly super refreshing and unique in comparison to other FNAF games. There are only 3 animatronics, but I promise you that's all this game needs in order to keep the game very difficult. And I promise you, when I tell you this game is hard, this game is really fucking hard. So here's how it works. In your camera system, you have 2 important buttons, your PA button and your buzzer button. I'll start with the buzzer button. When you press the buzzer, it will shock the camera you are currently looking at. If an animatronic is on that camera, they will be locked in place until the buzzer finishes, I don't know, buzzing? What do you want from me? Then afterwards, they will continue on their path. The PA button does something pretty cool. It's somewhat similar to the Balloon Boy call from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. If you use the PA call on a camera that an animatronic is about to go into, they will immediately go into that camera. You can't make animatronic go backwards through cameras, only forward. You might be asking yourself, in what way is that even useful? And the answer is honestly pretty cool. When an animatronic reaches your door, their eyes will light up, letting you know they're there. You will then have to open your camera quickly, select the camera on the opposite side of the office, and use the PA button to lure them through your office to the other side. Now that might lead you to have another question. If you just lure them to the other door, wouldn't they just attack you from that door? And the answer is no. I can't find a very good reason to justify why this makes sense, so we're not even gonna try. But out of the 2 animatronics that attack from your left and right doors, they have movement patterns similar to animatronics from other FNAF games. Mary, the pink wolf, or fox? I don't really know, I think she's a fox. Anyways, she'll move clockwise through the cameras, since the building is basically just a big circle. Rascal, the raccoon animatronic, will move counterclockwise around the building. They will never, under any circumstance, turn around and start moving in the opposite direction. They will only ever move forward through rooms. So when you pull one of them through your office, they will have to make a full rotation around the building before being able to attack you at your door again. Are you following along? Great, you get a medal or a cookie. I hope you're allergic to cookies and you die. Rah, rah, rah. Now I need to mention the only part of this game that I think is a negative: cooldowns on your door lights. You'll notice that after using the buzzer or the PA button, that a bar will start filling up underneath the button. This is a cooldown for those buttons, and this prevents you from spamming them, which would obviously break the game and make it far too easy. Here's where the problem comes around. Mary and Rascal move at the speed of fucking sound, Sonic type shit. And on later nights when they're both active, the cooldowns become a huge problem. Because once you use the PA button on one of them, the other will reach your office well before your PA cools down. So, what's the remedy for this? Your door lights. In addition to using the buzzer to stall animatronics in place, using your door light when an animatronic is in the doorway will also stall their movement. I will note that the lights are meant to give you an extra 5 to 10 seconds for your PA to cool down, and not meant for you to halt an animatronic when your PA is basically empty. While an animatronic is at your door, they still have a timer for when they'll move into your room, whether you're flashing them or not. And if you're flashing them when that timer runs down, the lights to the building will flicker out and you'll lose the night. If you're easily frustrated, this game is probably not for you. On night 1, only Mary is active. With one animatronic, this game is a cakewalk. But this night is really just meant to give you an understanding of how the mechanics work, and it's also where we're told that the night will pass along faster if the cameras are not up. This gives us an incentive to not be looking at the cameras, but as you'll soon find out, looking at the cameras all the time is going to be the most valuable asset in this game. Night 2 is where Rascal becomes active, and the game actually starts to become a challenge. Still, this night is really easing you into dealing with 2 animatronics at one time, so beating it is fairly easy. On this night, there's a large emphasis placed on your buzzer, because it becomes incredibly important with 2 active animatronics. Night 3 is where this game really amps up in difficulty. You'll notice that Rascal moves much faster than Mary does, which can pose a small problem when it comes to balancing their locations, but be ready because it only goes from 10 to 100 after this night. But before this night ends, you get to see one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed in a FNAF game.
Power supply low. Powering down.
Was that not the fucking coolest shit you've ever seen in your life? A scripted cutscene that makes you think you lost? It's so cool. And I think the only reason why it left so many people, including myself, as shocked as it did, was because it completely breaks the Five Nights at Freddy's norms. I'm sure everyone who's played FNAF has had a moment where the clock strikes 6 a.m. in the middle of a jump scare animation. It's a rare occurrence, yet it somehow still happens to most of us. And this game takes that concept and creates its own cutscene out of it. It was this moment while playing this game that made me decide I needed to make a video about it. But now we move on to Night 4, aka Poop City. Night 4 introduces the final animatronic, Scarlet the Deer. Or a doe. Fawn? I don't know. It's a deer. Scarlet does something totally different from the other 2 animatronics. She is not affected by your PA system or your buzzer, meaning she'll truck right through the building however and whenever she pleases. How do you stop her? Remember when I said that not looking at the cameras makes the night go faster? Yeah? In order to stop Scarlet, you have to stare her ass down on the cameras. Life's great, dude. It's awesome, honestly. Scarlet begins on the stage like all the other animatronics do, and she'll follow either Mary or Rascal's path. She'll continue in that direction until she reaches your office, where she'll then attack from the door in the middle of the room, which means you can't use your door lights to stall her either. So instead, you must find her on the cameras and stare at her. Once you do this for long enough, which takes around 3 seconds, but trust me, feels like way longer, especially when some fucker is at your door. But once you look at her for long enough, she'll move backwards 1 camera, and then you can switch to that camera and continue to push her back until she is at the top of the map. Note, you can't make her go back on stage, so the camera right next to it is as safe as you're gonna get. Keeping Scarlet away doesn't get too stressful until you have Mary or Rascal sitting at your door, and you have to stop flashing them to pull your camera up to keep her away. But now, we get to touch on Night 5. And if Night 4 was Poop City, Night 5 is Poop Universe. Oh my god, Night 5. It's very important that I answer a specific question now. The Game Jolt page for Mary's Arcade states that this game does not use RNG and is pure skill. Is that statement true? The answer is yes, but I promise you, when Night 5 comes around, it will feel like complete RNG. But it's not, okay? It's not, I promise. This game is not so much a horror game as it is a puzzle game. Literally everything that takes place during the nights are scripted. That includes where animatronics start, when they move, and where they move. Speaking of where they start, on Night 5, Mary starts about 3 cameras away from your door, and Rascal starts about 2 cameras away from your door, while Scarlet is on stage. Immediately, right out of the gate, you're at an enormous disadvantage. If you do nothing, within the first 10 seconds, Rascal will already be at your door. So you might think to just send him through, but almost directly after, Mary will be at your door, and uh-oh, you just used your PA. Guess it's time to kill myself. So then you think, okay, here's the strat. The moment the night starts, I'm gonna buzz Rascal and let Mary hit my door. I'll send her through and then stall Rascal with the light, which should give me just enough time to send him through before the lights go out. But uh-oh, fucker, you forgot about Scarlet, and now she's in your asshole. Okay, same strategy, except this time, after sending Mary through, we find Scarlet and send her back to the starting position, but oh shit! Rascal's at the door, so opening my cameras to move Scarlet now becomes super risky, and I'm fucked in the butthole again. Night 5 of Mary's Arcade is the bane of my existence, the piss in my pants, and the shit in my britches. It took me over 2 hours of attempts to figure out the pattern of this night's puzzle. Again, everything is the exact same every night, literally no RNG in the timings, so I started to develop a strategy. I needed to figure out exactly how Scarlet worked, and I'm pretty damn sure that I have. So, the night begins and Scarlet is in her start location. On Night 5, she will start by going left, the same side that Rascal goes. I know that my timing needs to be tight and precise, so my plan is to buzz Rascal on start immediately, let Mary through, and stall Rascal at the door with the light until my PA system is ready to then let him through. Since I have to be in the bottom right corner camera to let Rascal through, I need to make sure that Scarlet will be there, so that the moment I open the camera to let Rascal through, I will retroactively immediately push Scarlet away from my door. But we just established that she's going left, so what do we do? Well, if you push Scarlet to the main starting room, she will begin to attack the opposite side. So in Night 5, she begins by going counterclockwise. So, if before Rascal reaches my door, but after I let Mary through, I push Scarlet back to the main room, she will then begin to move clockwise. This gives me time to stall Rascal while she moves. However, while stalling Rascal, I will have to make one risky move. If I leave her totally unanswered, she will kill me before my PA system refills, so I have to push her back at some point. Now, one might think, if you push her back, she'll start going in the wrong direction, and we've already established that I want her to be in the bottom right corner camera by the time I send Rascal through. But something I found out about Scarlet: you can push her back as much as you want, but she won't switch directions unless you push her back to the main room. Meaning that, if I sit on the bottom right corner camera in preparation for luring Rascal, I can temporarily stop flashing him with the light to pull up the camera and push Scarlet back into the kitchen camera and quickly go back to flashing Rascal. This will give my PA system just enough time to refill before Rascal's door timer runs out, allowing me to push Rascal through, and then push Scarlet back to the main room. You might be thinking now, wow, that took way more thinking than any game I've ever played in my entire life. But then you look at the time and realize that it's only 1 a.m. I have to figure out timings like that for the next 5 in-game hours. This right here is why this game took me so fucking long to beat. This scripted bullshit makes me want to get mauled by a bear. I would honestly rather have RNG because this just isn't fun. It doesn't feel like skill because each night is identical. At least with FNAF 2 10/20 mode, I know that I just got unlucky with Toy Bonnie and that next time I could just get lucky and win, but not with Mary's Arcade. Mary's Arcade is nothing but trial and error, spending 30 minutes figuring out a pattern, die, spend another 10 minutes solving the new problem, die, do it again and again and again until you realize that fucking 2 hours have passed and you've only solved up to 4 a.m. of the goddamn night. And then I get the displeasure of talking about 5 a.m. Oh, 5 a.m. You big, stinky, fat, smelly, sweaty, sticky, ugly, stupid, dumb, idiotic, brain-dead, moronic bitch. Right at the finale of 5 a.m., all of the cameras go completely out. You can't look at them. You're no longer able to see anything on the cameras, and it really comes down to you versus Scarlet. Scarlet, if unanswered, will make it to your office before you hit 6 a.m. every time without fail. But how exactly are you supposed to stop her if you can't see the cameras, you ask? I have no fucking idea. It was ironically sheer luck that I didn't die to her on my final run. My idea was that even though I couldn't see her, she was still there, meaning that if I knew where she was before the cameras went out, I could still land on the camera she was just on, wait for the camera to flicker letting me know I pushed her back, then continue to push her back to the main room and just camp that camera and wait to win, since Mary and Rascal showing up during the game's final desperation to keep me here was very, very uncommon. But there would be runs where I would do this and still miraculously die to Scarlet. I have no fucking idea where she was. I had no strategy, no puzzle to solve, no clues to go off of. Have you ever tried to put together a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle without looking at it? Play Mary's Arcade Night 5, 5 a.m. After a few attempts of giving it a try, you'd be unzipping your pants and pulling your wiener out at the thought of attempting the jigsaw puzzle. I'm dead ass serious. I do not know how I beat this night. I could not replicate what I did. I watched multiple other people beat this night, and I didn't pick up on any patterns. I literally have no conceivable idea what I was expected to do at this point. I really hope someone in the comments could tell me what the intended route was, because I'm honestly so fucking confused. But after beating Night 5, the game is done. And so is this video. Psych, you fucking idiot. There's a challenge night. Nightmare mode. Fuck. I didn't beat it. No, I didn't even put in an attempt. The moment I saw Nightmare mode on my title screen, I uninstalled the fucking game. I could not even begin to handle the mental anguish that would fall upon me as a consequence of trying that. No thank you, I'm good. But lucky for us, there is a custom night that introduces some new characters. Kipper, Dipper, and Martin. Kipper and Dipper are canonically Mary and Rascal's kids. Their mechanic is really easy. When you see them in your doorway, flip up your camera and flip it back down. That's it. Since they look like Mary and Rascal, I think the goal was to get you to think they were Mary and Rascal and cause you to turn the lights on, killing you. But it really isn't that hard to tell the difference. Martin is also very easy. Martin will spawn on any camera at random. All you have to do is find him and stare him down until he temporarily goes away. Easy. There's also these little random puppets that show up in front of your face, and you'll have to boop their noses to make them go away. I don't really understand the point of them, but I guess I'll go with it. Props to Frogger and Shooter for actually beating this shit show of a custom night. I'm well aware others have beaten it, but Frogger was the first victor, and I just like watching Shooter's content. So congrats, guys. I don't know why you did this to yourself. I'm sure that the anguish and the pain of doing this will surely be retroactively laid off on your future wife and children. But that's Mary's Arcade.
What makes a game difficult? Is it puzzles, bosses, nerve control, or a mixture of all of those things? I think almost any answer to that question is a valid one. However, I think there's something all players, especially Five Nights at Freddy's players, can agree does not make a game difficult. RNG. Standing for random number generation, RNG is basically just when the game decides to go, and make something happen in the game at complete random with no thoughts of balancing or user experience whatsoever. In a lot of games, RNG can be a good thing and add to the overall experience, whether that be contributing to grinding for a really good gear in a dungeon of an MMO, or contributing to a loot box if you're a degenerate and play Hoyoverse games. But something I think FNAF players can agree on is that RNG is almost never a good thing, and the game we'll be diving into today implements it in some of the worst ways of all time. Join me as we dive into the world of the Tubbyland Archives. Now, without further ado, let's jump in to Tubbyland Archives Act 1. The Tubbyland Archives begins with a cutscene. The camera pans around the building, showing the various rooms, and we listen to a quick phone call from the CEO of the company we will soon be working for. He tells us that we've gotten the job and that we'll meet with a guy named Joey, and he'll be teaching us what we need to do. The camera pans past two of the antagonists we will soon be introduced to, and oh my lord, do I need to talk about how awesome this game looks. These characters look terrifying. I love them, and I honestly feel like this game's menu screen is one of the best FNAF menu screens I've ever seen. The way the characters shake as they reach out for you, mixed with the unsettling background music, provides a very uncomfortable feel, which I think fits great into a FNAF game. Anyways, moving on to night 1, we're introduced to who I can only assume to be Joey. However, through in-game subtitles, we can see the game refers to him as 03. Not really sure why. The night 1 phone call is just about as uneventful as I'm sure you could have guessed. 03 explains the basics, and not much lore is mentioned at all. 03 tells us that the guy that worked before us was named Evan, but other than that, not much else is revealed. And while yes, I could describe to you how he describes what our job is, but it's kind of my job to tell you what our job is, so let's do that. There is only one threat that is activated on night 1, that threat being Poe. For those of you who are grown adults and don't know anything about the Teletubbies, Poe is the red one. However, before we can actually talk about Poe, we should talk about the general tools we have at our disposal. Obviously, we have cameras, but the cameras in this game have 3 unique functions. Okay, 1 unique function. I've seen the other 2. I'm just trying to be nice because apparently I'm way too negative in these reviews. Let's go over the 2 non-unique functions first. To start, we have our camera flashlight. Just like FNAF 2, it lights the camera up. Who would have imagined? Wow. However, the flashlight battery in this game that's displayed in the top corner of the camera actually goes down pretty fast. So that's why in my playthrough, which you can see on my second channel, Dxtr Black, it's very common for you to see me flash the light on a camera for a fraction of a second. Since as you play this game, you'll learn where to look for each of the animatronics, a super brief flash should really be all you need. The next familiar mechanic is an audio lure, except unlike most audio lures, it won't make you want to kill yourself by only working a handful of times before forcing you to stare at a reboot monitor for 300 years. I'll explain how the audio lure mechanic works when it becomes relevant. Before that, let's talk about the last mechanic in the cameras. The reboot? The shock. I don't really know what to call it. There's a button on the cameras that allows you to remotely turn off and on said camera. There's almost never a reason to turn a camera off, so I'm just gonna pretend like that doesn't even exist. But turning a camera on is very important because of one main mechanic this game has that just makes me smile from ear to ear. You see, that joke was funny because I lied. In the top corner of the screen, you'll also see a camera stability percentage. Throughout the night, this number will decrease, and each camera has its own dedicated percentage. When the percentage reaches 0, that camera will automatically shut off, and you'll have to go to said camera and turn it back on. This mechanic is in no way annoying by itself, but when mixed with a certain dickhead we'll talk about later, this will quickly become one of the main things in this game that makes you want to detonate a flash grenade next to an infant. You can also hide behind some curtains in your office, but that won't become necessary until a later night. Now, pivoting to talking about Poe. Something I'll hand to this game is that it does a really good job at making every character be a constant thorn in your side. No character can be forgotten about. No character can you just let your brain go on autopilot to deal with. You constantly have to be aware of each character, which is something I think is a very good thing in a FNAF game. Poe will do what most robots in FNAF games tend to do, wander around the building and make their way to your office. Something you'll notice about a lot of characters in this game is their ease of ability to juke you. Unlike most FNAF games where each character usually only has one main form of attack, Most of the characters in the Tubbyland Archives can attack both of the doors in your office, and because of the way the building is set up, there are multiple opportunities for the characters to swap which side they're going to attack on, making it even more important for you to constantly be monitoring all of them. Poe is the only character in this game that is affected by the audio lore, thankfully. However, there is a very big problem with Poe that I will bring up towards the end of this video, but for now, Poe pretty much is just Springtrap. Don't let her get to your doors or she'll insert herself inside of you, and you can only lure her into rooms she's adjacent to. Ooh, I don't like that. Call it back this way, bro. Come here, please. Poe by herself is not a formidable foe, but will likely become the character you forget about the most later down the line. Of course, it wouldn't be a FNAF game without post-night minigames where all you do is walk around, now would it? Rest assured, Tubbyland Archives has those as well. However, there is something I want to mention about these minigames. The way they control is honestly really satisfying. The camera moves with the player, but it doesn't lock to them. It glides around their movements, which leads to a super satisfying feel. Not only that, but the art doesn't have that typical purposeful dog shit look to it. It looks like this could actually be a game inside of an arcade machine, and I think that's great. But what happens in the first minigame? Well, to start, we play as the green Teletubby, Dipsy. We're told to find Nunu, and once again, for those of you that know nothing about the Teletubbies, Nunu is this fucking vacuum that's alive, or something. After wandering around the building, we find Nunu in a closet and his eyes glow red, which means he's evil because duh, that's what red means. And we're told that Nunu was sleeping. Duh, that's why his eyes were closed, you moron. I can't believe the game is having to explain this to you. On night 2, we get another call from O3. He explains not a whole lot, basically just goes over the 2 new animatronics, but I feel like I can do a hell of a lot better than he can. He does bring up Nunu, the vacuum cleaner, and explains that the CEO worked on building him himself. He always told the workers to stay away from it because it was too dangerous. I find that a bit odd, and so does O3, but we're gonna not question it. It's just FNAF things, I suppose, right? Anyways, on to the 2 threats this night introduces, the previously mentioned Nunu and the yellow Teletubby, Lala. Lala is the real main antagonist of this game, at least she feels like it, as she is the character that without a doubt will require the majority of your attention throughout this game, and is the first major occurrence of painfully AIDS RNG throughout this experience. Lala is one of the few characters that can be seen on the cameras without the use of the flashlight since her eyes glow. She does the same thing that Poe does. She can attack both doors and has multiple points throughout the cameras where she can swap sides and fuck your day up. Generally, her mechanic is easy. Lala will never move backwards, so once she's at the entrance of one of your doors on the cameras, if you later check and she is no longer there, then you know she's about to attack you. And when she is, all you have to do is hide behind the curtains and she'll jump into the office to look for you. Yes. Yo, I would not want those things to grip my hips. I ain't not gonna lie. Them big fucking oven mitt hands, bro. But she does have the mind of a toddler and will quickly forget why she wandered into the office in the first place and promptly leave. Where Lala becomes incredibly ass-clenchingly AIDS is when we start to talk about what I'm going to call her final bait and switch. The 2 final cameras she will appear on before attacking are camera 1A and camera 1B. However, there is a camera in between that can serve as one final point for Lala to switch sides, that being camera 2A, the worst fucking camera in the whole game. When Lala is on either of her 2 kill cameras, when she has a successful movement opportunity, she will do one of 2 things. 1, she'll just prepare to enter your office, wherein you'll need to hide behind the curtains, or she can do the much more frustrating option, move into the bait and switch camera. When she's in this camera, she obviously won't be able to enter your office. However, when comparing this switch camera to the other one, it becomes a lot more infuriating. The other 2 switch cameras are 4A and 1B. This is the only other point in the cameras where the characters can switch attack sides. However, the difference between these cameras and the bait and switch cameras is that the bait and switch cameras have a camera in between. And because of this, when Lala is in the bait and switch camera and has a successful movement opportunity, she can enter any of the 2 kill cameras, even if it's the kill camera she just came from. This alone isn't a huge problem, But when we get into later nights and everyone is more aggressive and there's more characters active, in most cases, you would almost always rather have Lala just move into her attack phase so that she'll reset to camera 5A and you can focus on someone else for a bit. However, there will be many occurrences where Lala will just jump between her bait and switch cameras, leading to you need to spend way more time on her than you ever should have, which will end up getting you killed by either Poe or another character I'll mention later in the long run. The other character this night adds is the previously mentioned Nunu. Nunu, thankfully, isn't a normal attacking character. Nunu is actually in the office with you, and you can see him behind the curtains you go to hide in. He's just a preventative measure to stop you from hiding in the curtains all night. If you stay there for too long, he'll kill you. Pretty simple sugar. After beating night 2, we're tossed into another mini-game segment, this time playing as Poe. Once again, we have to go find Nunu. After a bit of exploring, we find him getting his clanker ass to work, filling up the custard machine to make some bomb-ass desserts that I personally will never eat because I'm not really a sugar type of guy. Moving on to night 3, we get yet another phone call from O3. He tells us that everyone who works in this building never feels like they're alone when they enter the building, and no shit, there are a bunch of murder robots always trying to fornicate with them, so that checks out. O3 expresses that he will be trying to look through some of the files later on to figure out what's going on, and if I were to guess, that's not gonna bode well for him. O3 also mentions another Teletubby, and of course, that character is the new threat on this night, that being the purple Teletubby, Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky is probably the least frustrating character throughout this whole game. Same shit as every other character. Go to your office, juke you along the way. Except the way to deal with Tinky Winky is different. We're told that he doesn't like high-frequency noises. Well, luckily for us, the flashlight on our cameras just so happens to make that correct frequency of noise to piss him off. He also makes a very noticeable sound cue on whichever camera he's on. So if he's ever in the wrong place, just hold the light on him and he'll move backwards. No problem whatsoever. The post-night 3 minigame has us play as Lala. Once more, we're tasked with finding Nunu. Spoiler alert, this is what we're gonna have to do in each of the minigame segments. After some searching, we find him taking out the trash. However, as I'm sure you could already see because you have eyes, the trash he's taking out definitely looks like flesh and blood, so that's just awesome now, isn't it? Night 4 gives us my favorite phone call in this entire game. Something I really need to point out is how amazing the voice actors in this game really did. The acting is nothing short of amazing. It never sounds like the characters are acting, it always just sounds so real.
It turns out I'm not crazy. There's something going on around here, and it's not good. I don't really know how much I can say over the phone. I mean, who knows who's listening, but I think I might be onto something. This whole company goes way deeper than I ever thought.
And that's what I think all good acting should be. You shouldn't even think that the characters are actors, just that they're characters. And I think this game does an almost perfect job at that. Moving on to what's actually said, O3 did some digging and explained that the entire company goes way deeper than he expected. He found some things that he probably wasn't supposed to see, but he never gets into explaining what. Before he does, the CEO comes to his office. They have a brief yet uncanny conversation. The CEO knows that someone had been looking at the company documents, and it's clear that he thinks O3 did it, which, to be fair, he did. O3 denies ever doing so because, of course, why would he admit that? And the CEO says that he's got his eyes on him. He asks O3 to come in the next night to help look for some of the documents, and O3, while confused as to why, agrees anyways. The CEO leaves the office and O3 quickly hangs up the phone. This night also introduces the final threat in this game, Dipsy. Dipsy is another character that you won't really have to focus on all too much. Dipsy will appear in your front office door. He has a few phases he can move through before you see him in his main attack phase, where he's fully leaned into your office. When you see him like this, all you have to do is hide. A very faint sound cue will play when he leaves, and you'll be able to come back out and continue. Not a very difficult character to deal with, but a character that does force you to pull the camera down every once in a while. And in a game where the camera is easily the most important tool, this isn't something you're gonna wanna be doing very often. This is also the night where you'll really start to notice how difficult this game really is. The characters really start to move quickly on night 4, and the pressure present and nerve control required really starts to stand out. In the comments of my first episode of this game, which you can watch over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I got several comments warning me about how hard this game really is, and upon reaching night 4, I finally really started to feel it. But nothing could prepare me for the complete bullshit I was about to go through come night 5. But before we can talk about night 5, we need to talk about the post-night 4 minigame. In it, we play as Tinky Winky and find Nunu cleaning up a spill, as the game puts it. This spill very clearly is blood, and I have my suspicions as to whose blood it could be, but I'll explain my thought process after we talk about night 5. Night 5's phone call is a doozy, to say the least. O3 explains that the CEO set him up. He came in the night the CEO asked and walked right into a death trap. He mentioned he found a box in a party room that smelled terrible. He found several documents. Reading them revealed everything. He explains that the entire building and business we're in now is a cover-up. But before he can tell us more, Nunu finds him and kills him in what I can only describe as one of the most uncomfortable phone calls I've ever heard. Shit. Nunu, no. Oh, are the... Okay, that was a pretty cool fucking phone call, dude. I can't even lie. That was actually badass. And I can only assume he is the owner of the blood that Nunu was cleaning up in the post-night 4 minigame. But now we get the displeasure of talking about night 5. Single-handedly, one of the most infuriating gameplay experiences I've ever had in my entire life. This is where the RNG gets atrocious, and where I find this game's biggest asshole, Poe. As I've already mentioned, Poe acts very similarly to Springtrap in FNAF 3, and if you know anything about FNAF 3, then you know the worst thing about it is the dreaded 1 in 7. For those of you who have played FNAF 3, that phrase probably just sent chills down the back of your spines. 1 in 7 refers to the 1 in 7 chance Springtrap has to completely fucking ignore your audio lure, and is single-handedly the reason why FNAF 3 is even as hard as it is, as it takes a system that would be built around skill and turns it into a game of, is Springtrap gonna fuck you or not? This is exactly what Poe does. At least, I'm pretty sure is what she does. There's no official documentation about her AI, and as far as I'm aware, there's no decompiling of this game to double check. But I'm almost positive she has the same mechanic. Maybe it isn't 1 in 7, but it's almost 100% 1 in something. Because if it's not a 1 in something, then that means that Poe moves around the camera so quickly that your audio lure doesn't even matter. I tried my absolute hardest, but I could not for the life of me beat night 5. I gave up, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. If my theory of Poe ignoring some of the sound cues is correct, then fuck trying to beat that night and just waiting for luck to be on my side. The time you have to wait to use the audio lure after using it is way fucking longer than in FNAF 3. And sure, you never have to reboot it, but that doesn't really matter when Poe moves at the fucking speed of the goddamn Roadrunner. Seriously, go watch my Night 5 playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. It's almost laughable how quickly Poe gets to my office despite me using the audio lures at every single opportunity that I could. You could also just watch to see some salt since there's plenty of that, but like, goddamn, this night is hard. This game is fucking hard. I should have listened, but I was thinking, well, how hard could it possibly be? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. It's impossible to tell how hard the game is because the skill ceiling is capped by how lucky you get. So I don't even know how difficulty could be measured. But I need to relax a bit. Sure, I wasn't able to beat this game, but I know there are some people out there who were able to. And because of those people, indie fuel, that I'm able to finish talking about this game. So congratulations to all of you who put yourself through this horseshit torment. I appreciate you. The post-Night 5 minigame actually takes place before the Night 4 minigame. We play as Tinky Winky once again and actually get to see who, once again, I can only assume to be O3, dragging himself out of a room before all of the animatronics hold him down as Nunu kills him and he's left to die on the floor alone with no one to ever come and help him. We get our check for the week, but before we decide to piss off forever, our character begins to speak to himself. He wants to go back for one more night, to see if O3 is still alive, and if he isn't, he wants to get the documents that O3 mentioned so that his death wouldn't be in vain. Personally, if it was me, I don't care if O3 was my brother. He's dead as disco, and there would be no way in fuck I'd be going back there in a million years. But Parker, our player's name, decides to, and we get to jump into night 6, an experience I never got to see for myself, and I'm glad I didn't. As far as I'm aware, nothing new was added to night 6, just being a more difficult, more RNG-based fuckfest of a night, but after completing it, we move on to the post-night 6 minigame. This minigame is actually a minigame, not just a walk-around simulator. In this minigame, we have to find 10 of the documents in the basement, all while the animatronics patrolling you are trying to find us. If at any point they see you, you're dead because they're much faster than you are. So you have to strategically hide by staring at a fucking wall every once in a while whilst they pass, and eventually escape the building. I obviously never did this because I couldn't even beat night 5, let alone night 6, but even just watching somebody else complete this minigame, even this minigame looks really fucking hard, so I'm grateful that I never had to do it. But that's all Tubbyland's Archives Act 1 has to offer. Yes, I did say Act 1, which would imply that there are more on the way. In fact, Act 2 does actually have a Game Jolt page, but with no updates on said page for over 2 years, who's to say if it will ever actually come out or not? I personally really hope it does, because the story of this game actually seems intriguing to me, which is odd for a FNAF game. Overall, the Tubbyland Archives can prove to be an incredibly frustrating, luck-stricken experience. However, I don't think that can fully take away from how amazing this game both looks and how it is mechanically if you can put aside the 2 major RNG points that it has. The story is mysterious and is everything I need to want a sequel, and I really hope it does come. Today, I have the misfortune of telling you about a game that made me so incredibly angry during my playthrough that I've avoided making this very Dxtr White video for the last several months. I have not wanted to touch this game ever since I finished playing it, but here I am. I noticed that I've only been covering games that have been making me happy recently. Games that don't make my blood vessels explode. Well, I figured today I'd switch it up a little bit and talk about a game that makes me so irrationally angry I can barely breathe just thinking about it. Let's waste no more time and jump into the absolute dumpster fire of a world that is Fangs, Pizza, and Theater. Before the game even begins, we're thrown into Event, with seemingly something standing outside of it. I personally find it fitting that we're sitting in Event because that's personally where I will be crawling to die after finishing this video, which, by the way, I will tell you, I cannot wait for. I'm only 3 paragraphs into this and I'm already dreading writing the rest of this video. I played this game so long ago that I've mostly wiped it from my memory, so now I'm forced to watch somebody else play it and relive my traumas like a patient with PTSD. But with that, we're thrown into night 1 and we can talk about the tools at our disposal. And how much I fucking hate them. To start, we obviously have our camera system. Of course, it's a FNAF game, so that's pretty par for the course. On top of that, we have a flashlight. However, this flashlight does not work the way a flashlight normally works. No, that would be too easy and make poor little Dxtr too happy. Instead, they had to make this flashlight literally worse than Satan. While yes, this flashlight does work as a normal flashlight, it will also be our main form of defense throughout this entire game. So get used to using it constantly. But we'll talk more about that once we start talking about the threats this piece of shit bullshit fuck-ass game introduces. The flashlight's battery will decrease very fast for reasons I'll talk about a bit later. For now, let's talk about what you have to do when this flashlight gets low on battery. Well, I'm sure you've noticed just from the footage I'm showing you on screen right now, but the office we're in is pretty big. Turning around completely, we'll find a shelf with several batteries on it. Clicking on one of these piles of batteries will completely fill our flashlight, but we obviously only have a limited amount of batteries, so we can't be retarded about it. The last thing I want to talk about before we dive into the characters this night introduces are the 3 entrances to our office. The left vent, the window in front of us, and the right door. That's really it. There's no way to close any of them. They're just entrances. Okay, moving on. Night 1 introduces 2 threats, and both of them go to show off the worst mechanic this game has to offer in my opinion, that being the main fucking mechanic. Maybe I'm just salty today, I don't know, but I really didn't like this game, as I'm sure you could have already been able to tell. Let's start from the simplest character, Faye. Faye acts as this game's introductory character. She's so incredibly easy to understand, but don't let that fool you. I've lost several fucking times to this piece of shit, so don't get it twisted. Faye will begin on the east stage. From there, she'll move to the dining room, to the bar where you'll be able to find me for the next week until it's time for me to write the next white video. Then, from the bar, she'll move to the hallway, wherein directly after she'll show up outside of our office window. And this is also where the first ass-clenching mechanic gets introduced. You can't see characters in your office unless you flash your light on them. Now, is this a problem by itself? No, of course not. Not at all. However, when your main mechanic is your flashlight and you need to waste power constantly checking bullshit, then it makes me piss an entire fire hydrant out of my urethra. Anyways, when you see Faye at your window, that's when it's time to act. And this is also where I get to talk about that silly little thing your flashlight does that I mentioned earlier. If you hold down your flashlight, it'll slowly charge and then release a light so bright you'd think a third nuke was dropped on Japan. Bam! Bitch, the light of God on your ass. Obviously, Faye doesn't fucking like it when you literally put the sun in her eyes, so she backs off and goes back on stage. However, using this big mega flash wastes a bunch of power on your flashlight, so it's likely you'll have to grab a battery. Dexter, that doesn't really sound so bad. I don't know why you're complaining. Well, just sit back. If you haven't figured out what this game is about to do to my organs, you will soon find out, so stick around. The second threat introduced on this night is the main attraction, Fang. Fang is everything you hate about Faye, except even worse because he has more choices. Typical man, am I right, ladies? Huh? No? Okay, moving on. Fang will begin on the east stage with Faye. From there, he'll move to the dining room. However, at this point, he has 2 options for what he can do next. Let's cover his first route first, wherein he'll go from the dining room to the restrooms, and from the restrooms to the hallway. Want to hear something awesome about him going to the hallway? You can't fucking see him when he's there. Why? Because fuck your mother in the face, that's why. From the From the hallway, he'll jump into the vents, which thankfully you can hear. And then, finally, he will be in the vent entrance of your office. Of course, you won't be able to see him without your flashlight, and just like Faye, when you see him, drop Little Boy on him and he'll go away. Alright, time to talk about Fang's second route, where he goes from the dining area to the bar. Once again, you will notice I am still present there because I've drank so much to the point where the bartender took my keys and I'm sitting there thinking, bitch, I can't leave. I'm miles away from home and you took my keys, so I guess I'm staying the night. After that, Fang moves to the hall corner, and from there he appears at our office's doorway. Do you want to take a guess what we do when he's there? That's right, we drop Fat Man on his ass and he'll go away. Are you starting to notice a pattern here? And why it might be possibly incredibly frustrating, especially on later nights when the AI really kicks it into high gear? If not, you'll soon learn. But that's all this night has to offer. Of course, we also get a post-night minigame to play. Hooray! I never actually got any minigames in my playthrough. I'm not really sure why, and I don't give enough of a fuck to figure it out, if I'm being honest with you. So let's just talk about the minigame. In it, we have to talk to our boss, which is this thick rabbit. And bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'd suck the cum out of her dad's dick just to get the recipe, because... And bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'd suck the cum out of her dad's dick just to get the recipe because hot damn, I'd go crazy for this thing. She tells us to take out the trash like a good little boy, and I get down on all fours and do whatever she tells me to. Ruff, ruff! While looking for garbage cans, we walk into the bathroom and get teleported into some grandma's varicose veins. I'm not really sure why we're here, but there's shadow children running around and flashing hallucinations. After walking around the most nauseating place I've ever been in my entire life, we find This thing. What is it? I literally have no idea. But after we touch it, we're teleported back to the restaurant where we can find the rest of the garbage and finish up our shift by talking to mommy, and finally night 1 comes to a close. I really don't like how long it took me to talk about this night because I still have so much more to talk about, and I really would like to go back to forgetting that this game even exists. So let's just keep trucking through it. Starting night 2, we have another cutscene. This time, instead of being an event, we appear under a table or something. Who cares? We hear some footsteps, see whatever the hell this is at the end, and finally we're dropped into the next night section. During the phone call, we learn that the owner is trying to sell off the company. Last night's phone call told us about some new competitor restaurant that's doing better, probably Fazbear's if I had to guess. Who cares about the owner's problems? My problems matter to me a lot more, and I think that's a life lesson we could all take to heart. Mind your own fucking business. Only one new threat is introduced on this night, Melody the Bat. Thankfully, Melody acts as more of an annoyance character than an actual threat, and you really shouldn't have to worry too much about her. Melody will start on the west stage. From there, she'll move to the dining room, then the restrooms. Then she'll go to the hallway, to the hallway's corner, to the ordering station, then either the kitchen or the bar to visit me. Finally, depending on where she went, she'll either go to the parts and service or the dining room, and from there she'll jump back to the bathrooms. So, what is she actually doing all this time? Well, she has a chance to randomly attack one of the cameras. When she's attacking one, you'll get a notification in the corner of your cameras telling you so. You'll have to find the camera she's on and stare at her. If you don't, then she'll knock that camera out for the rest of the night. But get this, it really doesn't fucking matter. Her find her on the camera bullshit is pretty much nullified by the fact you really only need to watch 3 cameras throughout the entire game. So if she's not attacking any of those 3, then it doesn't really matter. Let them get fucked, nobody cares. Fang and Faye ramp up quite a bit on this night, so I don't really appreciate that. But with that, that's all night 2 really has to offer, and we can move on to the post-night 2 minigame. I'm very excited to see the Rabussy again. I can't lie, I'm rocking about a half chub right now just thinking about it. In this minigame, our Dom boss tells us to mop up the floors. I'll literally do anything you ask me, please. I don't think you understand. I'm such a degenerate. Anyways, fuck actually doing that. Behind the counter, we find a weird looking chair. Touch it and it'll take us back to Vane's world. If anybody gets that reference, I love you, by the way. Touch that weird looking thing again and we go back to the restaurant. Finish mopping and we can move on to night 3. Come on, let's keep it moving. Night 3 begins with another cutscene. In it, we're in a hallway this time, and we see this very tall, nice looking gentleman at the end of the hallway. Very cool. However, unfortunately, I literally don't care at all. Please, let's just move on to the night section. I really don't care about what the phone guy has to say on this night, but if you guys do, he basically tells us a story about how Fang was stuck in the vents, and they spent over an hour trying to get him out. Whoopity-doo, suck me off. Who's introduced on this night, and is it literally the worst character on the face of the planet Earth? Yes. The answer to that question is yes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the literal cancer of the world, Nubs the Bear. Nubs is by far the most frustrating character in this entire game, and not even necessarily from his mechanic alone, but specifically from an anecdote I have from my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Nubs begins on the west stage. From there, he'll move to the dining room. Then he'll go to either parts and service or the entrance. Then the bar to greet me once again. Yes, I still haven't left. Then from there, he'll either go to the hallway or the ordering station, and finally, he'll enter the vent. If Nubs ever gets to your vent, there's no way to stop him because he will be crawling all the way inside of your butt. God damn it! Fuck me and my... what the fuck? I didn't see him anywhere. What the fuck, bro? I didn't see him. So, how do you stop him from doing that? Well, you can catch Nubs on 2 of the cameras he goes through, the hallway and the ordering station. If you stare at him for a few seconds, he'll reset. However, this is where literally Death Incarnate himself comes out in the form of Nubs. This game literally does not tell you which camera Nubs can appear in, and Nubs, being a very dark character, is incredibly hard to notice on the cameras if you don't know where to look. And on top of that, he also hides, making it even harder to see him. So a mix of all of this leads to you literally dying to Nubs because you have no way of knowing which fucking cameras he can appear on without hours and hours of trial and error. This is the bullshit I went through during my playthrough. This motherfucker right here is why I never wanted to touch this game again. This piece of shit spit in my asshole, ruptured my spleen, caused my appendix to burst, and gave me a brain aneurysm. I hate this guy so much. He's not even challenging to deal with. It's just a pain in the dick that it took me what felt like 4 fucking months to figure all of his bullshit out. I think I'd rather get a urethral swab than ever play this game again, specifically because of this asshole right here. Play the game yourself. Fuck you. I'm not even gonna tell you which cameras he appears on. I hate all of you. Fuck. And of course, if you couldn't guess, both Fang and Faye have been ingesting cocaine like a suppository, so they're absolutely cracked out of their minds. Dude, I don't even want to. I actually just don't want to play this. Riding me like a bike throughout the entire night makes the process of looking for nubs the most foreskin ripping process on the planet. Damn. Anyways, rocking a full chub, we can move on to the minigame. Master tells us that we have to prep the tables, but we instead choose to find a broom and teleport to hell and touch a weird looking thing instead. Afterwards, we do snap back to reality and do what she says in hopes that she steps on me with her sweaty feet. Jesus Christ, what am I writing? This entire video has just been like disgusting line after disgusting line. I hope you freaks are happy. Let's move on to night 4. I don't know where we are, but that really tall guy is watching us again. All leaned over looking ass, spring Bonnie looking ass. I personally want to know why we're always on the floor in these cutscenes. It's a little ridiculous. Anyways, on to the night section. Guys, why does it feel like I'm always being tortured? Night 4 introduces a threat that is literally so annoying, so teeth gritting, so fist clenching. It's honestly impressive how the devs of this game just continue to make each night progressively more and more frustrating every single time without fail. Night 4 introduces Fang Sr. We've barely been introduced to any characters so far, and already we're repeating ourselves, so that's not a good sign. Fang Sr. is quite literally, probably without a shadow of a doubt, the most annoying character from any FNAF game I've ever played. I'm seriously not exaggerating one bit. I'm completely serious. I unironically think I would rather play the entire Jolly series again than this game ever again. I'm so incredibly dead ass, it's not even funny. Fang Sr. has perfect synergy with Fang in literally the worst way imaginable. Fang Sr. can only attack from one entrance, but he defies all logic, and I hate him. He starts in parts and service. From there, he already starts doing whatever the fuck it is he wants. He'll go to either the entrance, the dining room, or the bar. 3 choices, who gives a shit? Then he'll either go to the ordering station or the kitchen. Finally, he'll hit the hallway corner, and that's when he does it. That's when he goes to your office door, just like Fang. However, unlike Fang, you can't shine your light at him. If even for a moment, a fraction of a second, even the smallest beam of light touches his eyes, you are completely fucked, and he'll make you arch your back like a college girl who left her long-term boyfriend to live the college experience. We all know what that's really code for. When Fang Sr. enters your office, you have to stand completely still. He'll stand in your office for literally 100,000 years before finally leaving. During this time, you can't open your cameras, you can't turn around, you can't flash your flashlight, you can't even turn your fucking head. You literally move even 1 inch and this guy will make you a part of the Me Too movement. So, if you haven't figured out what the 2 major problems are with this character, allow me to explain them to you. To start, let's talk about the obvious one. He sits in your office for so long that by the time he finally leaves, you'll have lost track of literally every other character, and there will probably be someone ready to be flashed, or Nubs will have made it into your vent. Wasn't fast enough for seniors, was fucking my shit. He was fucking my shit up. Who knows? Who knows? That doesn't even matter anymore. And you can't even be good at this mechanic. And that's the most infuriating part. When Fang Sr. enters your office, you're basically just dropping to your knees and praying the game doesn't skull fuck you. Let's talk about the other glaring and much more frustrating issue with this character. We have to talk a bit more about Fang himself first. Tracking Fang really isn't necessary and is honestly not worth your time because it will leave you with more camera cameras you'll need to check when Melody is attacking. So it's much better to just quickly flash the vent and doorway every once in a while to check if Fang is there. But of course, now we have a character who, if we even flash for a millisecond, will kill us. So get ready to accidentally flash Fang Sr. over 12,000 times trying to beat this piece of shit. And we're only on night 4. It's going to get harder. Much, much harder. Like a shit ton harder. And not even skill-wise harder. Just dick-swinging Grandpa Fang limping his gimp ass into your room at random harder. During night 4's post-night minigame, we have to fill up cups because the customers are thirsty. I am personally thirsty for our boss, but I think I've made my stance on her objectively clear. Who cares about doing that? Touch whatever this thing is, go to the death world, touch this other thing I don't know the name of, finish filling the cups, and we can move on to night 5, aka Razor Blades in My Water Night. Night 5's cutscene has us yet again under a table in what appears to be parts and service. I think this robot on the floor in front of us is the character we've seen over the last few nights, but I can't be sure. Night 5 introduces nothing new, thank God. However, it does serve to be literally one of the most RNG-ridden, frustrating nights from any FNAF game I've ever played in my entire life. I would rather attempt post-shift 2 for an entire day. I cannot describe to you how much I did not enjoy this game. I almost feel bad constantly ripping on it, but to be fair, it kept constantly ripping my asshole. Since I don't have any new threats to bring up, and if I continue to shout I might go into cardiac arrest, I have nothing left to talk about aside from the post-night minigame. This time around we need to touch a barrel in the first room we're in. From there we touch the weird thing in the death area and then go to our future dungeon master. She tells us to bring the cake to the main room and we walk into the kitchen to do exactly that exactly then. Upon bringing the cake to the main room, both my wife and all of the children just stare at us. Upon talking to my owner, all she says is thanks, and the minigame abruptly ends. I don't want to tell you about the cutscene we see next. Just take a look. So yeah, that's actually just terrifying and one of the most disgusting and uncomfortable things I've seen in my entire life. The thought of hiding from one of these robots and it being intelligent enough to find you is unironically one of the scariest things of all time. And for all of the shit I've been giving this game throughout this whole video, I will say this cutscene is one of the most dread-inducing things I've ever seen in a FNAF game. So hats off for that. Oh yeah, one thing I should have mentioned that I just fucking didn't is that the only way you can get the post-night minigames is by finding a floppy disk during the night sections. So yeah, I'll just throw that in right here because I'm lazy. You're welcome. But with that, we can talk about night 6, by far the most interesting nights in this entire game. And yes, it does still make me pee blood. If you've done all the weird minigame blood butt touching, then a new character will be active on this night, that being Miss Willow. Miss Willow is an owl and acts as this game's boss fight night. And a boss fight she really is. Except instead of a fight to survive her, it's a fight to prevent myself from putting a certain metal object to my temple. Miss Willow is literally just a find them on the camera character. I'm not kidding. That's literally her only fucking mechanic. She'll say, find me, and you have to do exactly that. Except she does this a lot, in very quick succession, constantly, throughout the whole night. This is not gameplay, this is torture. If you fail to find her 3 times in a row, she'll randomly appear in any of the 3 entrances to your office, where you'll have to flash her to make her reset. Except the window of time to do this is so astronomically low, it might as well not even exist. I cannot describe to you how frustrating and bullshit this boss fight is. I hate it. I never beat it. I didn't get to do it in my playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, but I did attempt it while writing this video. And yeah, no, I'll pass, thanks. Fuck this night and fuck this game. After completing the boss fight, there's one more minigame to talk about. In it, all we have to do is follow Willow around the building. She talks some bullshit about a her, not explaining who that is. I don't care, guys. Here's all of the text she says in the cutscene. Read it if you give a shit. I don't care enough. I'm so done at this point. Afterwards, the minigame ends. Turning around in our seat, we see that Willow has somehow gotten into our house. Her face cracks open and 2 small hands hands grab it from the inside, splitting the face open and jump scaring us, which I'm praying to God just killed us right there on the spot. But even after that, we're still not done. No, this game needs to keep a chokehold on me for just a little bit longer. We get one final cutscene where we're back in the vent for some reason. We hear a woman crying and Willow appears in front of the vent again, and we wake up from a fucking dream. Are you literally ripping my scrotum off? A dream game? Really? Fuck you. Literally fuck you and fuck your entire face. I hate you. That's pretty much all Fangs Pizza and Theater has to offer. There is an additional mode called Golden Days, which, since we're here, I guess I'll quickly talk about it. Five Nights at Fangs: The Golden Days is an older title in the Fangs series. This appears to be just that game as a director's cut packed into this game as well. I never played it for myself, and I actually didn't even know this existed until doing research for this video. The version in this game consists of only one night and only has Fang, Faye, and Nubs. Except it only seems like Fang can move. He'll wander through the building before appearing in your vent. Just hold your flashlight on him and he'll fuck off. From watching Indie Fuel, my guardian angel, play this night is so slow and nobody even moved until like 4 a.m. So this just seems awful. The only reason I choose to mention this game is the minigame that takes place after you beat it. In it, you play as a large rabbit, maybe the one from the final cutscene, and you're in someone's house. You're holding something, but I can't quite tell what it is. But we walk out of the house and get surrounded by some bullies. They say we have rabbit ears. They say nobody loves nerds, which is literally just the biggest lie of all time. Ladies can confirm. They tell us to shut up and that they never want to see our face again, which tells me that this character is either a child that got infused with a rabbit suit, maybe, or it's just a kid wearing a rabbit suit. I have no idea. I don't even know any characters' names as to who this could be. And lucky me, this video is long enough, so I don't have to care. But with that, that's all Fangs Pizza and Theater has to offer. This is truly the most infuriating FNAF game I have ever played in my life. I truly do not believe I will ever play a game that actually makes me so unhappy again in my life. I remember filming this game and how miserable I got every time I had to boot it up. I'm so glad it's over. I'm happy I finally got around to writing this video so this game would stop haunting my nightmares, and I hope you guys enjoyed me getting mad about it. Asset dumping. The art of using random art from around the internet as all of your assets in a game, seen with games like Getting Over It, Yandere Simulator, and plenty more. Five Nights at Freddy's games have their fair share of asset dumping as well. Five Nights at Wario's, One Night at Chica's Magic Rainbow, and of course, the very popular One Night at Frogger's. Usually seen as a very lazy way of creating art for your game, mainly because the creator isn't actually creating any art at all, but not all asset dumps are bad, and in its own way, they're an art form themselves, if you can build your environments properly. The game we'll be covering today is an asset dump fan game, and it's honestly become my favorite I've ever played. Today, we'll be talking about Late Shift at Nintendo World, the most stressful FNAF game I've ever played. Strap in, because I promise you, despite what it looks like, there's so much to talk about. So let's drag our balls into Night 1. Night 1, where it all begins, and where you might already become overwhelmed by the amount of possible things this game is about to throw at you. To start, I love the visual style of this game. While yes, it is just the typical asset dump, there are so many references stuffed into this game, it's amazing. And on top of that, the space in each room and camera is filled up so nicely. It's cluttered, but not so much so to the point that my eyes melt out of my skull. Anyways, before we start talking about the whopping 3 threats this night introduces, let's talk about the tools at our disposal and the locations we can travel to. Locations? What does that mean, Dxtr? Well, a location is a place you can go, you fucking moron. The first location is obviously your office. You'll see you have a large hallway in front of you and of course your cameras. Your cameras are pretty basic, except for the fact that they're dark as fuck. So we've been equipped with a camera flashlight. The way this flashlight works really makes me want to smother an owl. Every time you use it, only certain cameras will be lit up, since some cameras are outside where the flashlight doesn't reach. The camera light will only stay on for so long before shutting off, and making you wait for a cooldown to be able to turn it on again. Thankfully, the cameras aren't completely pitch black, so my balls get to stay attached to my body for another day. Now, let's talk about the second area you can go to, the outside fence area. Turning around, you'll find a large electric fence. You can tell it's an electric fence because it tells you so, which is very kind. You can hold down a button to charge up the electric fence, and when it charges, the fence will be shocked. Pretty sure that's not how an electric fence works, but to each their own, I suppose. And finally, the last place you can travel is the back shed. The only thing you can do here is hold the door to lock it. While that may seem a bit eerie and intimidating, you'd be right. It really is. But worry not, I'll cover why this place is so important in a little bit. With all of that out of the way, we can talk about the 3 threats this night introduces. Let's start with the main attraction himself, Mario. Mario is disgusting. Literally, look at this model. What the fuck is this thing? Ew. Dude, that thing is fucking nasty. Anyways, now that we're done pointing and laughing at him, what does he do? Mario will work his way to your office through 3 cameras. On each of these cameras, above your light button, you'll notice a music button also appears. If you ever see Mario on one of these cameras, simply press the music button and he will be pushed back 1 camera. Note that he won't be pushed all the way back to his starting camera. So if he travels through multiple cameras, you'll have to follow the cameras pushing him back 1 by 1. Very simple character. As long as you're constantly watching him, which you probably will be, he really shouldn't be an issue. The second threat this night introduces is Mario's taller, skinnier, and much more fuckable brother, Luigi. I'd let his mustache tickle my taint. What? Anyways, Luigi makes use of that spooky little back shed we were talking about earlier. Luigi will appear on camera 9, which connects directly to the hallway in front of your office. You will need to constantly watch camera 9 for when Luigi appears, and once he disappears from camera 9, then you will know he's in your hallway. Something else you'll notice is that you'll never actually see Luigi in your hallway, and there's no camera for the hallway either, and he won't actually appear in the office as well. So you really need to be paying attention. Once you know that Luigi is in your hallway, you will need to hop bottom to the back shed and hold the door locked. Luigi will peer in at you, meaning he was following your big, fat, juicy, bouncing, jiggling ass all the way over here. Once Luigi leaves the window of the shed, you're free to go back to the office. Luigi brings up a great synergy with Mario. Both requiring plenty of attention on the cameras really goes to make these two a dangerous combo, and I really don't want to be stuffed by 2 Italian sausages. I also wouldn't want to eat a sausage anyways. Oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's cool. That's cool. I do like that. That is pretty fucking cool. I do like that. This game's gonna get fucking hard, isn't it, dude? The final threat this night introduces is Pikachu for some fucking reason, but whatever. Pikachu makes use of the big electric fence behind you. Occasionally, Pikachu will be visible behind it, and this is when you'll notice that apparently Pikachu came from fucking Jurassic Park because this fat motherfucker is the size of Jupiter. Of course, once you see Pikachu trying to get a peek at your pecker, see what I did there? All you have to do is charge up the electric fence and give him a taste of his own medicine by shocking him like he does to Ash, and he finally will leave you alone again. I can handle a lot, but I personally think an 18-foot tall Pikachu meat between my buns would be a little too much for me. But if you can manage to learn how all these characters work together, you'll move on to Night 2. Night 2 introduces a plethora of new threats, signaling to me that this may be one of the most challenging FNAF games I will ever play. It's only Night 2, and 2 new threats are added, bringing the total number of threats on Night 2 all the way up to 5. So let's talk about them. The first threat introduced on Night 2 is Kirby. I love Kirby. Kirby would never hurt me. That's a lie. This Kirby certainly would. On both your boiler room camera and back room camera, you will see 2 heat symbols have appeared. Kirby will attempt to get into your office via either of these 2 vents. So hooray! We have 2 more mandatory cameras that require our attention. The way you deal with Kirby is simple. Same as Luigi. When he enters the camera, all is good. But the moment he disappears from the camera means he's about to start rolling through your vent and into your office. When he disappears, hit the heat button to scare Kirby out of the vents. The heat only lasts 1 second, however, so you really need to make sure you time it properly. However, now is the time I get to tell you about the worst and most frustrating character we've seen so far, Meta Knight. That's right, we get 2 Kirby characters introduced at once, and just like Meta Knight in Smash Bros, he is an annoying pain in the dick. Meta Knight acts as a Foxy-like character in this game. He will appear in camera 2, which is the entrance. He will make his way through a few stages, and once he disappears from camera 2, he will charge at your office, and you'll be able to hear his footsteps quickly approaching. What you'll have to do is, as fast as you fucking can, run to the back shed and lock the door. Come in real close for me, just for a second. I'm gonna whisper this in your ear, so make sure you turn your volume up so you can hear me. You got it? Yeah? Volume all the way up? Okay, great. Don't let anyone know I told you this, okay? Meta Knight is so goddamn cock-sucking fast! You barely have any time to react once you hear his footsteps coming. You quite literally have just enough time to get to the back shed and close the door. This motherfucker is brutal. But Dxtr, you're supposed to watch him in camera 2, and once he leaves, then you go to the shed. Sounds pretty easy to me. Shut the fuck up! While yes, it's true that once he leaves camera 2, he will charge at you, watching him really doesn't even fucking matter. Because the moment he leaves 2, the sound cue of him running starts playing. So you might as well just wait for the fucking sound cue, since watching him will only waste the precious time you need to focus on the other characters that actually do give you the time of day to deal with them. And if that wasn't bad enough, Meta Knight is in the entrance, an outdoor camera, which means not only is it dark as fuck, but your fucking camera light doesn't work on that camera anyways! So you have to rely on the fucking lightning to be able to see jack dick from that camera. But the lightning is not consistent at all. It's completely random, and it only lights up outside cameras for, oh, I don't know, maybe less than a fucking second. So if you want to check the entrance, you either have to just fucking sit there and wait for the lightning to show up, which could take several seconds that you need to be using to check on the other characters, or you could wait to hear the lightning and try to quickly flip to camera 2 to check on this annoying fucker. Both options suck dick, so I guess pick your fucking poison. But if you can tighten your sphincter and listen closely and have reflexes like a god for long enough, Meta Knight will fold, you will complete night 2, and we can begrudgingly move on to night 3, where I can only hope to God that 3 more characters aren't introduced. Night 3, here we are. Let me tell you guys, this night does nothing to help with my crippling mental state. Because let me tell you, this night is hard. Like, really fucking hard. Let's talk about the threats introduced and why this night is so ass. This night only introduces 2 threats. However, one of them is easily the most infuriating character in this entire game. So let's talk about the one that doesn't make me want to stick my willy in a pencil sharpener first. Link. Link appears in the courtyard where we deal with Pikachu. You'll notice on this night that as you go to the courtyard, you'll now be equipped with a metal pipe. This pipe is used as a form of defense against Link. When Link appears in the courtyard, he will giggle really fucking loud to let you know he's there. You will have to hit him 3 times in order for him to go away. Every time you hit him, he will teleport to a different spot on the screen. However, you can only hit him when the Majora's Mask's eyes are red. If they're blue, you'll have to stare at him until they turn red before you can start hitting him. This brings up even more evil synergies with fuck-ass Meta Knight, since you won't be able to pass him until you kill him. Bro, he won't die. What? He wouldn't die. The Majora's Mask guy wouldn't die. And Meta Knight was coming. What was I supposed to do? Now, let's talk about one of the worst and most stressful characters known to mankind, Ness. On night 3, you'll notice in the shed that we now have a new addition of a fuse box. However, you'll notice that this fuse box only has 1 fuse, but there are 3 places for a fuse to go. You can freely move this fuse from one slot to another, but what does this fuse actually control? Well, on 3 cameras on the map that connect to the hallway in front of your office, there is a fire alarm in each of them. However, the button for the fire alarm will only appear on the camera that is adjacent to whichever slot in the fuse box holds the fuse. So if your fuse is in slot B, then camera 9 will have the smoke alarm button on the cameras. Ness will appear in any of these 3 possible cameras. When he appears on one of them, you will have to play the smoke alarm to scare him away. Yes, this means that if your fuse is in slot B and you see Ness on camera 11, you will have to quickly run all the way to the back shed and switch the fuse to slot C, then run all the way back and hope you were fast enough to play the smoke alarm in time. And you want to hear the best part? Ness blends in with the background while the lights are off better than any other character in this entire fucking game. so have fun being able to find him. He also really likes to hide on the side of the cameras, so you'll have to spend even more time slowly panning the 3 cameras he can be in back and forth to really be able to tell if he's in one of them. Easily the character I died to the most, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. I think I'm willing to say I hate Ness more than Meta Knight, honestly, but it's really, really close. Fuck Ness, he's a bitch. Night 4. Holy shit. I did not think they could make it any worse. And that's exactly what they did. Night 4 adds 3 new characters. Yes, I'm serious. They added 3 more fucking characters to this game, bringing the total up to like fucking, I don't know, 12? I'm not keeping track anymore. This is just insane. Before we start talking about the threats, Juniper, the phone girl, told us that there's an investigation going on. She doesn't tell us what it's about though, just says that the park might close soon for a while. She also does mention that some of the characters are starting to attack patrons during the day, so that bodes great for what they're going to do to us tonight. Speaking of, who are they? Well, let's talk about the smallest problem this night introduces, Fox Puppet. But it's really just fucking Star Fox. Star Fox has a chance to appear in the courtyard behind the fence. However, he is not a fan of being shocked by it, so if you electrocute him, he's gonna dive into your butt. Get it? Because foxes do that thing where they jump really high and dive, but he's diving into your... You get it, fuck me. When he's at your fence, all you have to do is spam your flashlight at him and he'll go away. Really not a big deal at all, and honestly, the amount of time you have to flash him is pretty forgiving. And you can even go to the back shed while he's standing there if you really want to, so in all honesty, he's not that bad. However, the next fuckhead we'll have to talk about is a pain in the dick, Captain Olimar. I'm pretty sure is who this is at least. He will appear in the hallway in your office with 2 sets of eyes. I mention his eyes because they're very important to his attack. On night 4, a thermostat will become present in your back shed, and he directly correlates with this thermostat. When you hear him enter your office, which is signaled by some footsteps, you will have to look at his eyes. If both sets of eyes are red, you will have to run to the back shed and set the thermostat to hot. If they're both blue, set it to cold, and if one set is blue and the other set are red, then set the thermostat to mixed. After a few seconds, Olimar should go away. I don't think I need to explain why this is so horseshit to deal with, especially considering the amount of characters that require so much attention, so I'm not even gonna bring it up. Just know that I'm on the verge of peeling my foreskin like a banana. The final threat this night introduces, which yes, in case you forgot, there is still another threat to throw on top of all this bullshit, is Samus. Samus will enter your office through your hallway on either side. The cameras in which she will try to enter from will now be equipped with a lock button. They're not toggleable and must be held to hold the gutters shut. When you see Samus in either of these cameras, simply hold the lock button shut for a few seconds and she'll run away. Ironically enough, even with all of these threats active, Ness is still the character that has caused me the most suffering throughout this game. He is easily the most frustrating threat of all time. I've also died to Luigi a decent handful of times at this point, just because of how easy it is to forget about him. There is surely no way this game can get any harder. Right? It got harder, so let's talk about it. The phone call from Juniper on this night has her talking about how I shouldn't come to work tomorrow and that I'm stupid for clocking in today. That we agree on. I'm not really sure why I'm here. Apparently things are getting super dangerous, so that's awesome. There's a new threat on this night who doesn't like bright lights, so Juniper said she's changed out our camera lights. Great, hopefully they're better now. They're worse. Oh, so very worse than they were before. Now, instead of having the brightness on the cameras for a few seconds and having a long recharge time, we now have less than a second flash of light and we get a faster recharge time. This is worse in every single conceivable way possible. Dude, this new flashlight thing, fuck this. Oh my god. What is this guy gonna look like, dude? Fuck me. I personally think that a great deal of this game's difficulty comes from it being difficult to see and track the characters. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I know the retards over on Reddit like to misconstrue every single point I've ever made. No, I think it's cool that finding the characters is a challenge. However, now only having this small flash of light makes it so fucking much more AIDS-ridden to be able to do so. So, why on earth was our camera light downgraded this badly? Well, to deal with the one new threat this night introduces, Mario. Dxtr? Mario was already introduced on night 1. Did you already forget? No, dear viewer, I did not forget that. There are just 2 fucking Marios now. Why not? Fuck it, right? Why not add another existing Nintendo character? Why Mario again? I have no fucking idea. I don't really understand the thought process here, but we're just gonna shut our fucking mouths and roll with it. This Mario is easily the most stress-inducing character we've seen so far. More stressful than Ness, more stressful than Meta Knight. Occasionally, throughout this night, you'll hear Mario say, wahoo. And that just means bad news for you. Do you want to take a solid guess as to what you have to do when you hear this sound cue? Go on, go ahead. Guess for me. I've not really complained about any of the mechanics introduced so far, as I feel each of them are pretty unique and offer something of substance to the gameplay loop. So come on, tell me what you think this game is about to do to me. Come here, come here, come here, come here, guess! Guess, you piece of shit! Guess what this game did to me! You have to go find Mario on one of the cameras at random and flash him with your light. I'll find them on the camera mechanic again! How many videos in a row have we had this on this channel? I don't think there's ever been a video where this dog shit cock-sucking mechanic wasn't present! And that's not all. No. Not only do you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to once, no, you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to 3 times in a fucking row! Are you kidding me? Most characters in this game only have you deal with them once or twice throughout the night. Mario? At least fucking 3! You have to find this motherfucker on a random camera, while timed, by the way, and dealing with every other character at the same time, a whopping 9 fucking times! Fuck! 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 I can't fucking handle this shit! This is too much for my brain to handle! Over 10 fucking characters to deal with at the same goddamn time! And all of a sudden I'm in with this bullshit! This game is shoving carrots in my ass like some Bugs Bunny shit! What the fuck is wrong with you? Give me another character that forces me to go to this shit! I don't give a fuck! Not another find them on the fucking camera character! You've gotta be fucking me in my rear! Go find my dick! Go find my ass! Go find my balls! Go find my taint! Go find my tits! Chop my penis into 10 fucking pieces and throw each piece onto a camera and go fucking find them all! Fuck you! Nintendo, no, you ain't gonna stop me when I get it going. I ain't gonna slow, no, curtains ain't closing. Pouring all the salt, keep the insults flowing. Light up all the incense, come before the storm. Gather in the Smash Bros army like a swarm. Find them on the cameras, nothing but the norm. Cause another crash out, dog, I'm getting bored. Said, dog, I'm getting bored with you. I'm warning you, you don't really wanna start another war, do you? I don't know who's been around here misinforming you. When you fuck with Dxtr, what the horn's pouring at you. Up first, Mario is on the chopping block. The fat fuck plumber getting nothing on his cock. His bitch is locked up with a lizard, dropping cheeks on his rock hard fucking penis round the clock. God damn, it's fucking embarrassing. Her hair's in a bun and he's burying himself in her and she's having fun and he's getting his coming her, sending videos of him fucking her. Check your messages and see. I'll get her home when I'm done with her. Daisy's with him too, Luigi don't know the truth. He's staring at the video, skin white like King Boo. Does he dare to check another? No, it ain't true. Check your Snapchat, bro, she's saying he's bigger than you. Damn! I dumb bitch, I've been locked in on like Samus and that other bitch, Mega Man. Link on my shit, I could knock you with both hands. Make your head spin, do a dance on your can. Pikachu, flash a light at Pikachu. You behind the fence, I charge it up and thunderbolt you. Now you fried up, but we still got another hoe to boot. Star Fox turn, flash, epilepsy. Ooh! You get a seizure, Kirby in my heater. Blast his ass into the fucking ether. Sam is back, her ass so fat I need her. Call her lowest way, she gripped my Peter. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at them like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Alright, coming real close. Answer me this question, why you bitches on my chode? Ness is looking at me, licking lips, don't want it though. Gotta flip the fuse box, keep this on the low. Alright, look, I don't know why you're doing this shit. I'm just trying to do my job and you keep riding on my dick. If it was Samus, that'd be fine, but it'd be everybody watching trying to make it through the week, but you keep stretching out the time. Like my asshole, keep on pulling me in with a lasso. Ride me like a cowboy in the desert in El Paso. Friday come along and met a night beyond me bed, and matter of fact, he spanked me with a paddle, made my ass rattle. Put a saddle on me, hit me with a rubble, then he growl in the locker rooms. He hit me with a towel, then he blowing on my shit. I'm doing tricks up on a stick. I did the split contortionist aboard that flip me over, slide me, bend me over backwards. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save? And yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at him like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save? And yes or no? Well, glad I got all that out of my system. With that, we can move on to night 6 and talk about something that actually doesn't make me want to kill myself. However, it does still lay a lot on you. Loading into night 6, you'll see we're no longer in the office and we are now actually in a fucking bunker. How did we get here? I have no idea, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter, however, are the new tools at our disposal. However, me explaining all of them to you right now will not be very helpful. So I'll quickly explain the general tools, and then we'll talk about the character-specific ones as we learn about said characters. Obviously, we have our cameras, pretty self-explanatory. We also have 3 entrances to our office, the big hallway right in front of us, and 2 doors to our left and right. These doors can be closed remotely through the cameras, but you have to slowly charge them up before they can close, and only one can be closed at a time. Also, at any time we'd like, we can cut the power to our office and be left in complete darkness with our thoughts, like me late at night questioning what I'm even doing anymore. But this isn't a therapy session, so let's continue. What about the threats introduced on this night? Given the fact we're in a different location, it has to be different characters, right? Well, that would actually be correct. However, one of the characters is a repeat. Remember that one Mario that I really didn't like from night 5? I know I was pretty subtle about it. Well, it appears he followed us down here. However, he is incredibly easy to deal with this time around. He'll wander around the cameras and eventually find his way into your office. Once he stands in front of you, menacingly, all you have to do is whip out your fucking baton like my Willy and tase him in the balls. I'm not kidding. This is fucking awesome and is just what I need after dealing with the bullshit he put me through on night 5. The next threat introduced on this night is Mega Man. He is also pretty simple. He will try to enter your office through your left or right door. When you see him in that door's respective camera, simply charge up that door and seal it shut. Once he bangs on it, you're free to open the door again. Next, we've got to talk about the Villager. She confused me quite a bit during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. She will enter your office through any of the 3 possible entrances. Her rules state that once she enters your office, shut the lights off until you hear her run away. So tell me, what do you think that means? If you answered, wait until she appears in your office like Mario, then cut the lights until you hear footsteps, then turn the lights back on and continue, then you'd be completely fucking wrong, because she actually never appears in your office at all. You cannot see her when she's inside of your office, even if she is literally there. So, how are you meant to deal with her then? Well, you'll have to carefully track her on the cameras. When she enters camera 8, 7, or 6, her next movement will be into your office. So if you see her on one of those cameras and then don't see her anymore, that means she's currently in your office and you need to cut the lights. The best part? If you have the left door closed and she goes to camera 6, indicating that she will be entering your office through the left door, even if it's closed like we've already established, she'll still be able to enter your office through that door. Isn't that just amazing? Anyways, I could point out the nuances all day long, but that's not what you're here for. The final threat introduced on this night is Andross, a character I've legitimately never seen before in my entire life. I've been able to recognize each character so far, even if I haven't played the game they were from, like Star Fox, for example. But Andross? What the fuck is even that? Okay, I just looked it up. It's the main antagonist of Star Fox. Crazy coincidence that I just mentioned Star Fox and that I've never played it. That would make sense as to why I didn't know who this was then. Anyways, what does he actually do? Well, in my opinion, he is the most annoying character on this night. He is completely invisible on the cameras, and if he ever gets into your office, you die. In order to track him, you have to use the camera's built-in motion detectors. However, something really interesting about these motion detectors is that they're a piece of shit. Every single camera has the motion detector button. However, only one of the buttons on the cameras will work at a time, at random, and every few seconds, which camera has the working button will switch randomly. Meaning that, even though there's no character on this night that has a find them on the camera mechanic, these fucked up, morbid devs somehow find a way to work that bullshit into the fucking UI! What the fuck are you doing to me? I need to relax. I can't scream anymore. Breathe. How do we deal with Andros? Well, when he is on either camera 8, 7, or 6, you will have to use your heater on whichever camera he's on. Using the UI on the cameras, you can select which camera the heater targets and then blast heat into said camera remotely. Doing so will scare Andros away. Now, that's all of the characters this night introduces. However, there's still one more very important thing I've neglected to mention. Unlike every other night present in this game, Night 6 has a task-based completion system rather than a survival-based one. So that bodes the question, what is the task we have to complete? Well, on the computer at your desk, there are 5 important files we have to decrypt and extract onto our USB drive. The way we decrypt them is simple. Several strings of 4-digit number codes will appear on the monitor, and all we have to do is type them in. Type in several 4-string digit codes without messing up in a row, and trust me, it'll feel like you'll have to do this a billion fucking times, and you'll download one of the files. Do this for all 5 files, and the night is over. This task being added to this night easily makes it the most stressful mechanic this game has ever introduced. I was not expecting something like this from this game, and I honestly wasn't expecting a crazy final night like this in general. I'm all for it. Overall, I do still think Night 5 was harder than this night, but this was definitely a nice change of pace. After completing the night, we take our USB, run out of the bunker and into the parking lot, and drive off to the police station to show them our evidence. Looking back, we notice Mario followed us out and was left standing in the parking lot. We almost didn't make it out alive. It's revealed that our name isn't really Terrence, and we've secretly been an undercover investigator this entire time. The police raided Nintendo World and arrested the CEO, Leonard. Everything we mentioned in our report was found, except for one single thing: Mario himself. The only thing that was left to even prove he was present was his hat. Not knowing his whereabouts now, Late Shift at Nintendo World comes to a close. Kind of. There's actually a fuck ton more this game has to offer in the form of post-game content and challenges, with a whopping 12 additional characters for us to unlock and fuck around with. There's 9 other ones? There's 12 more? At the time of writing, I have no idea how these characters are achieved except for one. In the challenges menu, 2 fun challenges are present, and when I say fun, I really just mean ass. The first is blind mode, which will cause a constant blizzard to be present during the nights, making it harder to see in your office and in the courtyard. It also forces Night 5's shitty flash mechanic throughout the nights, and increases the amount of time you have to wait between flashes to make it even worse. And if that wasn't enough, blind mode still has one more big fuck you, in the form of a new threat: the Ice Climbers. The way they work is pretty simple, but retarded nonetheless. They have a chance to appear in any of the 3 major locations you can be in. If you ever see them, you just have to go to another area until they leave. I can't describe how terrible that sounds. Again, at the time of writing this, I have no plans to attempt this challenge, nor any of the custom night modes, which I assume will unlock the remaining characters. I do have the thought of attempting these on stream in the coming weeks, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing me doing and covering. Overall, I think Late Shift at Nintendo World is actually amazing. While I did find a lot of the characters annoying and stressful, the overall gameplay loop is very satisfying to nail down and will leave you feeling like a badass as you complete it. Yes, the entire game is just an asset dump, but you can't deny the crazy amount of effort and care put into it, and that's something I can always appreciate.
When you think of the best FNAF games, what games do you think of? What are your top 5 in terms of quality alone? I'm willing to bet that a lot of people share some of the same entries, and I'm willing to bet that the game we'll be talking about today is at the top of some of your lists, because it's definitely at the top of mine. The Glitched Attraction is a FNAF fan game developed by two 18-year-old developers alone. The reason I mention their age is because of how impressive this game really is, and how impressive it is that only two brand new adults managed to design it themselves. When I first learned how old these guys were, I was shocked. The Glitched Attraction is one of the best FNAF games I've ever played. I know a few of you watch my content to get suggestions for FNAF games to play, and for those of you that do not pass this one up. It is one of the most high-quality experiences of all time. Let's not waste any more time and hop into the Glitched Attraction, FNAF's most high-quality FNAF game ever made. Our game begins with us getting a text from a friend asking us to come check out the new Fazbear escape room attraction, and they tell us to bring all of our things along with us. A request that is definitely weird, but since when has weird ever meant bad in a FNAF game before, am I right? So we do just that, pack up all of our things and set out. You heard it here first. The Glitched Attraction is seriously a Five Nights at Freddy's escape room, a concept that sounded so cool I couldn't not check this game out, and I'm glad I did. We arrive at the attraction and two helper bots explain what's going to happen, and then we have to give over everything we have. Why the fuck did we bring everything we own if we're just going to give it to some random robots? This is pretty fishy smelling, and I should know because I haven't showered in 8 weeks. With the general rules explained, we continue onto the first section of the escape room as chipper as we can be. We're kicking our feet and heel clicking and shit, we're so giddy. Not knowing what we're getting ourselves into, we can dive into the first room of the Glitched Attraction. The first room has us in a room similar in style to the bedroom from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. This room, being the first, isn't very difficult, but let me go over the 4 threats you can find in this room. While you're trying to think, focus, and not be a fuck-up, Nightmare Balloon Boy will be sitting on a chair, because his fat ass wouldn't ever dream of helping anyone, but would instead prefer to sit there and be pointless. But sometimes, he gets a little antsy. You can tell when he's like this because he will visibly seize in his chair until you shine your flashlight at him. It's weird that doing this causes his seizure to stop though, because when I quickly shined a flashlight in my epileptic friend's eyes, he went comatose on the ground and started foaming at the mouth. But to each their own, I guess. If you don't aid in Balloon Boy's assisted suicide, he will jump off the chair and kill you. Something interesting I noted is that Balloon Boy actually makes no noise when he shakes, or even when he jumps off of his chair, leading to a majority of his jump scares feeling really awkward. I get why he doesn't make any noise, because it'd be way too easy to not lose track of him, but just something I thought I'd bring up. You'll realize there's a giant window in this room as well, which lets you see outside. Occasionally, you'll be able to see Nightmare Fredbear stalking you from between the trees. Little does he know that his eyes are actually signal beams as bright as those stupid fucking white LEDs that are now being put onto vehicles, so that when I'm driving at night, everybody's headlights look like they have their fucking brights on. So when I flash my brights at them indicating to turn theirs down, then they actually turn their brights on, which simulate what I can only imagine to be the lights of God. And then I feel like an asshole because I just flashed a guy who didn't have their brights on. Sorry to go off on a tangent like that. I just really had to get my frustration about LEDs on cars out of the way, and I really didn't have a good outlet to do so. Anyways, you'll see Fredbear slowly inch closer to your window throughout the challenge, and when he gets super close, you'll have to close the curtains until you hear him laugh, signaling to you that he's gone away, and then you can reopen the curtains. Why on earth do you not just choose to keep the curtains closed for the whole time then? I have no idea. It's not like we need the moonlight to see. The bots at the beginning gave us a fucking flashlight, but whatever, I guess. Speaking of your flashlight, little tiny stupid insignificant Freddles will periodically appear around your room. They make the same noise as they do in FNAF 4, so hearing them shouldn't be a problem, especially considering how god-awful annoying they sound. Shine your flashlight at them and bada bing bada boom, they go away. But if you let 3 stay in your room and assault your eardrums for too long, 2 of them will grab either one of your butt cheeks as the third dives headfirst into your rectum, which some of you sick fucks may find pleasing, but I for one do not. The final threat you have to worry about is Night Marionette. If you somehow, by some miracle, haven't noticed in the footage I've been showing on screen so far, there's a giant hole busted into the wall of the room, which is very poorly boarded up. Why is it boarded up? I hear you asking. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, it's only because, Satan is in there with enough tentacles to make hentai for the next 9,000 years. But, putting that thought aside, Night Marionette will occasionally give a sound cue to let you know she's there. If you look at the hole, you'll be able to see those tentacles creeping out. At this point, you'll need to make a mad dash to the Golden Freddy suit, which is conveniently placed in the room with you, and hide inside of it. Once you do so for long enough, Night Marionette will leave. Now, hold on. I'm not done talking about this stupid fucking Golden Freddy costume yet. I have some complaining to do, if you could imagine. This Golden Freddy suit takes about, 2 fucking decades to put on. I'm not kidding. You will feel like this game is broken or has paused as you are putting this fucking thing on. But if that wasn't enough, taking it off is somehow even worse. Rather than just exiting the costume, instead, the game thought it would be a great idea to have you teleport out of the costume, where you think you'd be able to continue moving around and interacting with things. But no, that'd be too convenient. Instead, once you teleport out of the costume, you have to just stand there for about 4 seconds doing absolutely nothing. No moving, no using your flashlight, just standing there like a dunce as time still passes around you. While in the Golden Freddy costume, did you happen to notice that Balloon Boy was tweaking out? Okay, cool. Night Marionette's gone. Let's quickly exit the costume and flash Balloon Boy. Oh, wait! Instead of flashing Balloon Boy, i.e. saving your own life, let's instead stand there like we have an iron deficiency for 5 fucking minutes as Balloon Boy twerks his fat jiggly ass all over his goddamn chair. I really needed to get that out of my system. Surely I won't have to complain for the rest of the video now, right? Anyways, how do we actually beat this room's challenge? Good question. You'll notice on the wall there's a picture of Freddy broken up into pieces, with each piece facing a different direction. You can turn each piece in order to make the picture look normal again, but you'll notice that one of the pieces is missing. On the dresser, you'll see the FNAF 4 box that Scott Cawthon wiped his ass with. Of course, it has 2 locks. You can find one of the keys to the locks in a drawer on the dresser, and the other key in the drawer of your nightstand. Using both of these keys to unlock the locks on the box, bars, opens it, revealing the last piece of the Freddy puzzle. You can take that piece and put it back in place to finish the puzzle, revealing a 6-digit code. Quick tip, this number is randomized every time you play it, so no fast speed running for you, sucker. Going back to the nightstand, you can open a door to reveal a safe. You punch that 6-digit code into the safe, open it, and find a hammer. You can then use this hammer to take the nails off the wooden boards covering the closet door, then open the closet door and escape the bedroom. Do keep in mind that as you are trying to do this, you are getting fucked from all angles by about 179 different pieces of fuck. But overall, I think this is by far the easiest room to complete, which is probably how it should be given the fact that we have a lot more rooms to go through. Speaking of, let's get to the next one. The next room is much larger than the previous. This time there are only 3 threats: Toy Chica, Mangle, and the Cupcake. This room is basically a big circle. Chica will walk around the circle patrolling for you. If you get in her line of sight, she will start to chase you. If she catches you, she will throw the meanest right hook I've ever seen since Muzi. You can hide in any of the several lockers lining the walls, but be aware that not all lockers can open. And if you want to know something super awesome, which lockers open are randomized each time you play. Meaning if you lose a run, some of the lockers you hid in before probably will be locked this time. Isn't that awesome? The Cupcake will also patrol around, but he is much less important. He himself can't end your run, but if you're not watching him and accidentally step on him, he will squeak, causing Chica to be alerted to your exact location. For me personally, I hate this type of mechanics in games. I want to note I don't think they're bad mechanics, I just don't like them. When there's a puzzle, I would like to be able to focus on the puzzle without having to worry about being chased at the same time. It also doesn't help that I don't handle being chased very well in any game, period. But it definitely doesn't help when I'm trying to focus on solving a puzzle on top of that. Just a me thing. But if that wasn't enough for my poor heart to handle, we have Mangle tacked on top of that. Mangle is hiding in the ceiling throughout the challenge. Occasionally, you will hear vent noises. When you do, that's when you know Mangle is about to drop down on yo ass. She has 2 possible drop locations. If you hear the vent noises on a side of the room that you're not on, you can safely ignore her as long as you don't then move to the side she's on. But if you hear her on a side of the room that you are on, you have 2 options. You can either A, move to the other side of the room, which might be a problem if Chica is over there, or B, hide in a locker. If you don't hide and Mangle happens to see you when she drops down, she will start to chase you. And unlike Chica, when Mangle chases you, there's no way to make her stop. At that point, even hiding in a locker won't be enough to be able to protect your cheeks. So, about the puzzle I was bitching about earlier. You'll notice a large door locked via a pin. The pin is 6 digits long and consists of 6 different symbols. Around the dark room, you'll have to find sticky notes on the walls that correlate each symbol to a number, which will give you the code order needed to unlock the door. If you couldn't have guessed, yes, this is also randomized each time you play. Simply find all the notes, type in the code, and you're done. Come on, you didn't really fall for that, did you? That was way too easy. This is a FNAF game, remember? And according to the FNAF game dev rules, difficulty equals quality. So let's make this as hard as possible. After opening up the door and flipping 4 switches to turn the power to the room on, a whole new world of fuck opens up to us, including a brand new threat, Withered Freddy. Withered Freddy sits inside of a music box, which I find weird because the marionette is literally in this room. I don't know why they didn't just use her for this mechanic, but whatever. Freddy's music box will slowly wind down, and if you don't keep it wound up, he will right hook, shatter the glass, hop out, and chase you. Just like Mangle, there's no hiding. If you hide inside of a locker, Freddy will stand outside of it and wait for you to come out. And when you do, you guessed it, he eats your ass. But because the devs of this game hate their players, if you wind Freddy's music box up too much, he will also shatter the glass and then shatter your sphincter. Cool. As if this wasn't hard enough for poor old Dxtr to handle. What do we have to do now? Well, inside of the room you opened, there's some shit on the wall and we need to find some gears to make the contraption work. Again, you will just walk around the room and find all the needed gears and put them back in their place. Once you do, a door on the opposite side of the room will open and you'll have to make a sprint of fate over to it. And then finally, the room is complete. This room isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I actually really like the concept of adding another threat halfway through. I just personally hate it for reasons stated earlier, but that's just a skill issue on my part. Moving on. Do you like complex things? Well boy, do I have a treat for you. The third room challenge is a nightmare. Let's waste no time and do a Tolarian Community College level threat assessment. This room has 4 threats: Springtrap, Dreadbear, Phantom Foxy, and Phantom Balloon Boy. Phantom Balloon Boy is simple, so let's cover him first. He works just as he does in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He can randomly appear on any of the cameras. If you look at him on the camera for too long, he will jump scare you and cause a video error. Except the video error in this game just means that the camera he jump scared you on can never be used again for the rest of the run, which I promise you is a very bad thing, and the reason will be revealed later. Phantom Foxy can appear in any of the 2 doors connecting to your office. If you look at him for too long, he will charge at you and jump scare you, causing a level of hallucinations to appear. If too many levels of hallucinations appear at once, it's game over. Now, let's talk about the real threats of this night: Springtrap and Dreadbear. Dreadbear can be seen on the cameras and will attack either one of your doors. Do note that you can close these doors and they each have their own power supply. But Dreadbear is unaffected by the doors and will break them down if they're in his way. You'll have to watch the cameras to see which door he will be attacking, and when you see him charging towards one, you will have to hide under the desk on the opposite side of the desk to where he is coming from in order to stay out of his line of sight when he enters your office. Eventually, he will leave and you'll be safe to come back out. Springtrap is a goofy little thing, to say the least. Springtrap will climb through any of 3 vents, which you can see on the cameras. 2 vents bring him to your respective office doors, and the 3rd leads to the vent that is directly above you. If you see Springtrap climbing through a door vent, you will have to simply close the door to the side he's going towards. If you see him climbing through a vent that brings him to the top of your office, you'll need to quickly turn off the power to the office and hide under your desk. He'll drop down, and once he can't see you because the lights are off, he will leave. You got all that down? Good. Because we have a whole load more of fuck to talk about next. That being, how do we escape this room? Well, the goal is to open a tiny vent near the ground beneath the TV screen. To start, you'll want to check near the desk to look for a code. It's random every time, and where it appears next to the desk is also random every time, so have fun. Once you get the code, you head over to the TV screen and press developer mode, and then type in the code you found in your office. This lets you activate developer mode, which opens up a door on the wall revealing a token. Keep in mind, all of the threats are active at this time. Using the token, you pop that puppy into the big arcade machine in your office, which promptly starts up a game. That's right, while defending yourself from an onslaught of fuck, you will also have to play an entirely other game at the same time. The game in question, Save the Children, is really just a bunch of fetch quests. To start, you'll talk to Balloon Boy, who is fishing and says he needs some balloons. By the way, if you couldn't have guessed, all of the items that you'll be collecting in this minigame will be in a random location every time you play, because God hates you. When you bring the balloons back to Balloon Boy, he will give you one of the fish he caught. Then you need to find Old Man Consequences and give him the fish, since the pond he's fishing in doesn't have any. Once you give him the fish, he gives you a lily pad for some fucking reason. Don't question it. We don't have time to question it because I neglected to mention there's a fire spreading through the building as you're escaping, and if you take too long, it will reach your office and kill you. No, I'm not joking. Oh, and again, keep in mind all of the threats I mentioned are still pulverizing your butthole. Once you have the lily pad, you'll take it back to Balloon Boy's pond and use it as a bridge to talk to this fucking robot thing. The robot says its watch is broken, so fuck you, go look for a clock. Once you find the clock and bring it back to the robot, he gives you a penguin, I think is what that thing is. Then you take the penguin over to Lolbit, who gives you a key to unlock a gate, which then leads you to an area where you need to unlock another gate. Yes, this minigame is still happening right now. You spelunk into a cave and talk to some dude who thinks the cave is too dark. You then have to leave the cave and go look for a torch, head all the way back and give the torch to him. He will then give you a key to unlock the other gate, and when you do, you'll exit the area leading to a William Afton cutscene where he goes sicko mode inside of his Springlock suit. And finally, you have to sit there and wait as the game reboots. Again, we're on a time crunch, so your butthole will probably be puckered at this point. Again, threats are still up the wazoo right now, so don't get comfortable. Once the system reboots, you'll get another 5-digit code which you can use to unlock a box on the office desk which reveals a key. You then use the key on a keyhole in the fucking wall for some reason, and at this point, no matter how much time you have left, the game will start to count down from 6. Once the fire reaches your office, the small vent I mentioned at the beginning of this room will finally open, and you'll be free to crawl through it, but not before Springtrap lunges out and grabs your ankle with lust in his eyes and shit. You quickly close the vent and decapitate that bitch, and finally, you complete the room. Holy shit, this room gave me a panic attack and made me shart my pants. Shall we begrudgingly move on to the next room? I think so. Let's keep this gravy train rolling. Do you enjoy having headaches? If you do, this next room is for you. Let's go over it together. I'll hold your hand. This room is made up of 2 hallways, 2 windows, and a bunch of screens, a small elevator, and a life-size 7-foot-tall circus baby animatronic. The goal of this room is to put baby back together, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first go over the threats this room has to offer. The first threat is Ballora. At times you will hear her music box begin to play. Depending on which side of the room you hear the music coming from, you'll need to go over to that side's hallway and press an electric shock button that will electrify the doorway, shocking Ballora and making her go away. If she gets in, I'm guessing you can figure out what happens next. Ballora is the easiest threat. What else is there? Well, the 2 other threats are Funtime Foxy and Funtime Freddy. Occasionally, you will hear a gurgling sound cue, letting you know something is wrong with either Foxy or Freddy. You will have to run over to the windows and turn on the light to their room to see where they are. Starting with Foxy, if you see him doing the thug shaker on stage, you just press his shock button, and he will go back to how he's supposed to be. Be careful though, if you shock him too many times for no reason, he'll eat your ass like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Freddy, on the other hand, is slightly different. His light button doesn't work. Similar to Sister Location, while looking at him, occasionally sparks will fly out of the wires in his room, briefly illuminating. In this small window of time, you'll be able to see where Freddy is located. He will slowly make his way towards the window, and if he gets too close, you guessed it, ass in his mouth, eating it like a cupcake. If you see Freddy getting too close for comfort, you press the tape symbol button, which will make Bon Bon tell Freddy to get the fuck back on stage. And he promptly will. Again, like Foxy, if you push the tape button too many times for no reason, It's time for the bite of 87 on your asshole. Now, back to putting baby back together to complete the night. You'll notice that baby is missing both arms and both legs. The first thing you'll need to do is find the baby chip hidden on the desk somewhere and plug it into the monitor. For some reason, we don't plug it into a computer, but I guess that's not really important now, is it? Once the monitor comes on, we need to call for baby's different pieces, starting with her arm. The general goal is to get each piece of her delivered and then fuse each of them to her body. Before I get to the fusing part of this process, let me bitch about the delivery process. So obviously, delivering the parts will take time, which isn't what we want because, as usual, we're on a timer here. And because of it, the devs thought it would be oh so funny to have some of the pieces come in broken. And once you put them on and try to fuse them, only then it will tell you it is broken and won't work. And you'll have to take the piece back off, return it, which also takes time, and then order and wait for another piece to be delivered. Why was this necessary, guys? What neuron fired off in your brain that made you think, how can I be Satan today? Anyways, let's talk about fusing, because this is really where the headache of this challenge comes into play. Starting with fusing the head, which for some reason wasn't already fused on, even though the challenge started with her head already being on her body. In order to fuse baby's body parts back to her torso, you have to complete a small minigame. For her head, it's basically just Simon Says, but with numbers instead of colors. But don't worry, the devs weren't just being nice and thinking about colorblind people. We'll get to that in just a minute. This is by far the easiest and least time-consuming part to fuse, but if you mess up a pattern once, you'll have to completely restart the head fusing process. Let's move on to her arms. The minigame for both arms are the same. The goal of this minigame is to divert power from the left side of the screen to the right. You do this by turning a bunch of 90-degree lines and 180-degree lines in order to make a consistent path from left to right. This sounds easy, but holy fucking shit, knowing you're on a time crunch and dealing with 30 pounds of dick in your ass at the same time definitely doesn't make this a smooth process. Do that for both arms and you're on to legs, the part that makes people like me want to die. In order to fuse the legs, you have to play a color matching game. You will see two grids of colors, one grid where you can change the colors and on the other you cannot. You have to copy it. Let's get the big elephant out of the room. If you're colorblind or deficient like I am, this challenge is borderline impossible. I'm lucky enough to not be completely colorblind or I would never have beaten this in my entire life. But not only that, but the grid each time has a missing square, as I'm sure you've noticed, but I'm also sure you've noticed that missing square on your side and the missing square on the side you're supposed to copy are in different locations. That's because they rotated the fucking grid. Talk about a headache, am I right? Maybe I'm just brain dead when it comes to this, but trying to comprehend where each color should go when it's rotated was just not a fun experience at all. I'm not even going to lie to you. But once you finally finish fusing all of baby's pieces back together, a voice will come over the speakers telling you that all of the animatronics have been deactivated, and that you should exit through the hall on your right. When you do, you'll be led to the sister location elevator. Getting inside, it will slowly descend and then stop. You'll hear something laughing at you for a while, and then the elevator will suddenly drop and you die. The end. Game over. Okay, not really. That's just the transition to the next room. Are you ready? Because I sure as fuck aren't. Why did we agree to come to this place? It makes no sense. How does this place even exist? I could have died a solid 276 times at this point, and we're not even done yet. Someone needs to get this place investigated by the FBI because this is some bullshit. What a waste of a Saturday, am I right? Anyways, let's move on. After laying on the floor for approximately 8 days, we finally wake up from the fallen elevator. We walk past a large window and see the characters we just went up against. After the events of the last room, these little tiny robot things apparently grabbed all of the characters to bring them to the scooping room. And this room is presumably that. While we look across the floor of once familiar corpses, the bane of my existence and the shit in my diaper emerges from the tangled mess of wires. Ennard. This guy is the single reason why it took me so long to make this video. Why it took me a month to beat this game. For most, it certainly wouldn't have taken this long, but for me, oh my lord, this next room will give me flashbacks like Charlie in the Trees for the next 5 decades. And possibly until I reach my grave. Remember the second room? How I mentioned I don't handle being chased very well? This room made me question if I would be able to continue making videos on this channel. or if I would have to jump ships to another genre to make review videos about. I'm not kidding, not even a little bit. I originally intended to beat this game on stream on Dxtr Black, and you can still see my first stream about this game where I gave up on Room 2. Well, for the people who tuned into that stream, know now I didn't give up. But you should also be grateful that I didn't stream this entire process because I spent tens of hours trying to beat this next room alone. Let me explain why. Room 5 is the epitome of everything I hate in a horror game. Literally all the way down to the last detail. I'll give you a warning right now. This is 100% a me problem and is totally my subjective opinion. So, the only threat in this room is Ennard. Thankfully, there aren't any more, but dear lord, Ennard is all it needs. In terms of where we are story-wise, the elevator crashing was definitely not intended to happen, as upon beginning this room, we don't get a monitor telling us what our goals are. This is cool as a passing thought, but it's not really cool when you stop to think that there is absolutely nothing to explain what it is I need to do to complete the challenge. Upon beginning, we're given a wind to power flashlight and some writing on the wall telling us to light up a solar panel using the flashlight. Now, I'm already going to pause real quick. We're being shown a new mechanic, the wind up flashlight and solar panel. Cool. Now tell me, do you suspect we need to light up solar panels ever again in this entire challenge? Or the entire game? I'm assuming you said yes, but you'd be completely wrong. No, there's not a single other solar panel in this entire game. So please, tell me, why the fuck were we shown this? Showing us the flashlight makes sense, but there were countless other ways to do it in a much better way than showing us another mechanic that is never used again. This is exactly like the gun in Moozy. But continuing, once we light the solar panel, a large door opens and the challenge truly begins. The overall goal of this challenge is probably the easiest we've seen so far. It's broken up into 5 distinct tasks. Step 1, find a crowbar. Step 2, use the crowbar to force open a drawer near Kyle's desk to get a keycard. Step 3, use Kyle's keycard to open a door, allowing you to turn a generator on that powers computer monitors throughout the room. Step 4, find all 3 computers and input 3 colored fuses into each. The fuses are conveniently placed in boxes right next to the computers, so I appreciate that. And step 5, go back to the generator and turn on the central power, which opens the door, allowing you to climb a ladder and beat the challenge. Sounds simple, right? Well, yes. It is simple, but now I need to talk about the problem. Ennard. Ennard will be patrolling the giant maze of a room the entire time you are performing these tasks. If he sees you, he will begin to chase you. If you get caught, you will lose all progress you've made throughout the challenge. Let me tell you another fact. Unlike every room in this game so far, this room ain't small. No, this room is very fucking large. I hate everything about life. Let me complain about some more stuff. If you are near Ennard, he will hear you and be alerted to you if you do the following. Wind up the flashlight. Makes sense. It's really loud. I can understand that one. If you run. Okay, yeah. I've seen that in other games before. Running is louder than walking is, and walking. That's right. If you move, period, while he is anywhere remotely close to you, he will hear you and start to chase you. What the fuck? And once he starts chasing you, there's only 2 ways to get him to stop. The devs must have been smoking crack and playing Dead by Daylight while they were designing this section, because one of the methods used to escape an Ennard chase is by knocking over wood pallets placed around the room. Quickly break the pallets and continue to chase you if you don't hot bottom out of there at light speed. What's the second way of escaping a chase? I hear you asking? Well, it's by stunning Ennard. How do you stun Ennard? I hear you asking again. That's a great question. I have no fucking idea. I'm not joking. I literally have no fucking clue on earth how, on God's green fuck, you're supposed to stun Ennard. How do I know you can stun him? Well, every time you die, which, judging by the fact it took me borderline a month to beat this challenge, I did quite frequently, you will get a tip on the loading screen. One of these tips tells you that stunning Ennard will give you more time to run away than knocking over a pallet will. So I know you can, but the game doesn't elaborate on how to do that as far as I'm aware. So to this day, I still have no idea how to stun Ennard. I don't know what the hell the game is talking about. I'm stumped. But I'm not even close to done talking about this section of the game. No. I spent a fucking month on this. I can dedicate a few pages of my script to it. You can sit down and listen, I don't care if this video ends up being an hour long. You see, there is a very large, steaming hot, glaring issue with this challenge in specific. Since it's technically not a part of the canonical attraction, there's no tip screen at the beginning. But with no tip screen, there's no telling anyone fuck about fuck. So, as I said, there are 3 computers around the level. Each computer has a box of fuses with differently colored patterns on them right next to them. Each computer requires 3 different fuses. How do you figure out which fuses go where? Well, at first I looked at the colors of the wires going into the computer. I thought, maybe this will give me a hint as to what I'm supposed to do. So I tried to grab the fuses out of the box, but I couldn't. So then I thought, oh, maybe these aren't the fuses, and the actual fuses are randomly placed around the map. So I went to look. I looked, and I looked, and I looked, but I never found any fuses. Eventually, I died for probably the 48,000th time to see a tip appear on my screen. You won't be able to pick up fuses until you turn on the monitors. You didn't think to tell me that? You didn't think that was important information to give out earlier? This is why we need the fucking tip screen, asshole. But fuck me, whatever, sure. So then I started trying to figure out how to turn the monitors on. I tried seeing if I could press the buttons on the monitors, but that didn't work, so then I decided to try and find something else to do. Eventually, I found a note next to a door mentioning that Kyle leaves a keycard in his desk to open said door. Okay, cool. Something to do has just fallen into my lap. Let's go find Kyle's desk. Luckily for me, desks are in the same location every time you play, so we don't have to worry about those being randomized. After looking for a very long time, because again, I don't handle being chased well at all, it's like I fucking lock up and start freezing. I don't know what's wrong with me, I just can't handle it. So, most of the gameplay boiled down to me moving incredibly slowly and taking way more time than I ever needed to complete this challenge. But that's how I personally had to do this if I wanted to play it myself, which is also why the footage you're watching right now isn't mine. Thank you, Kono and Indie Fuel. I eventually find Kyle's desk to then find another note from Kyle mentioning that you need a crowbar to be able to open his drawer with the keycard in it. Fuck me. So, after searching for another 100 years, I find the crowbar on a desk and use it to open the drawer to get the keycard. 400 hours and 2,000 deaths later, I use the keycard to open the door and find the generator inside. Flip the switch and boom, the computers are now on. Now, 5,000 deaths later, I finally get to the point where I can pick up the fuses and match the correct fuses to the one shown on the screen. After 25,000 deaths, I managed to correctly match the fuses of all 3 computers. Keep in mind, every time I die, I have to completely restart this entire process, all the way back to shining the flashlight at the solar panel. I'm on the verge of death. So finally, I make it back to the generator to turn it on and finish this godforsaken challenge. And I do, expecting the door next to it to open. It doesn't. Come in real close for me. Come in real close. This fucking door needs a separate key that spawns randomly in the level. I'm going to clench my teeth together so hard that they shatter into a fine powder. This right here is what took me the longest. So finally, after 100,000 deaths, I finally get the key to the generator to unlock the door. Come on real close again for me, real close, one more time. Take a guess what's in this room. Is it the exit to let me move on to the next challenge? No, it's just fucking lore. I didn't know this while I was playing. I don't watch videos about the games I play, so I had no idea what was behind this fucking door. I know that's 100% my fault, but dear God, when I tell you how fucking pissed I was when I finally figured out this after hours upon hours of attempts, I was fucking livid. I wish I was recording my attempts so I could show you my reaction. You wanna know what happened after a reasonable crash out in this room? Ennard fucking walked in and killed me, making me start from the beginning again. Once again, I wasn't recording. However, this exact same thing happened to Markiplier, so I'll show you footage of this happening to him instead.
Good. I was about to say, if that guy could have come in here, I would have been so mad. How could you ever get me in here?
The amount of vulgarities that emerged from my lungs at a speed of Mach 50 in that moment was astronomical, enough to shake trees and shatter the sound barrier. I was fucking livid. But again, I know full well that this entire section, this entire 4 pages of my script is an experience that only I have had. Nobody else on Earth struggled with this challenge as much as I did. Nobody in history has ever spent a calendar month pouring attempts into this section of a game that should only take 20 minutes to complete. I know it's a skill issue, and a very hard skill issue at that, but I could not, under any circumstance, neglect to mention how bullshit of an experience I had. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I eventually found the door to the generator, opened it, and climbed up the ladder into the next challenge of this godforsaken fuck-ass game. From one anxiety attack to another, let's talk about room 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that's how many threats we have to talk about in this level. Awesome segue, Dxtr. Thanks, Dxtr. The first threat we'll talk about is Molten Freddy. Molten Freddy can appear in one of 2 vents occasionally. When you hear or see him in one, you'll have to break your mouse and spam click a lever in the vent to blind him with a light more powerful than the sun. Every time you flash him, he gets slightly pushed back, which leads to you spending an infuriating amount of time spamming the fucking lever to make him go away. The next threat is Scrap Baby. As I'm sure you've noticed, we're locked inside a fenced area. On the outside of the fence is a forest, and occasionally you'll be able to see Baby limping her way out from between the trees towards your fence. When she gets to the fence, she'll hop that shit like an Olympic athlete and fuck your shit up. To stop her, you must go to this random screen in the wall and activate the repel system, which plays the most ear-piercing sound I've ever heard in my entire life. So I totally understand why that makes Baby go away. The final threat is Scrap Trap, who in my opinion is the stupidest looking FNAF character ever designed. You can see Scrap Trap sitting on a chair down a long hallway. You must watch him closely as he will slowly start to move until his head is eventually in an upright position. When it is, you must use the same screen you used for Baby, but instead close the door and use the call system to lure him to you. After waiting what will feel like an eternity, you will be able to hear him stand up from the chair and sprint like Usain Bolt towards the door, and pound on it like he's on speed. Then he will go back to the chair and you can open the door and turn off the call system. By the way, the call system is also the worst sound I've ever heard in my whole life. Thank you for asking. That may not sound all bad, but having to deal with all 3 of these fuckers and do the other bullshit we have to do, I promise it will become difficult to manage. So what is it we have to do? Well, the goal is to remove the chains from a fence gate so that we can open it. Simple enough. To start, you'll notice another screen different from the one used to defend yourself. On it, you'll find the opening minigame from Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. You will need to complete 4 levels of this game, which in and of itself isn't a hard challenge, but when the music is pretty loud, listening for the other characters can be a problem, especially when Scrap Trap doesn't make any noise until it's already too late. After beating this game, you will unlock a prize that we can't access at this moment, so we'll get back to it in a second. Afterwards, you'll need to look around your surroundings to find 2 pieces of paper with a number ranging from 1 to 3 on them, accompanied by a silhouette of a FNAF character. You can use these pieces of paper to input a code into this little toy thing. I don't know what this thing is, if I'm being honest. You only need 2 pieces of the code because you can just brute force the last one. After getting the code correct, a key will emerge. Take that key and run down the hall and unlock a door to the right of Scrap Trap. This is personally where I think this level gets specifically hard, since we'll be spending most of our time in here now, meaning we won't be able to hear Scrap Trap and Molten Freddy. So if you forget to check on them, it's basically GG's. Inside this new room, we can finally obtain the prize we got from beating the Pizzeria Simulator minigame, a Faz coin. You'll notice a projector that's projecting a cut-up piece of paper on the wall. If you pull a lever on the same wall, this tiny little Freddy I can't remember the name of will try to read the projection. But he obviously won't be able to do so because it's only a small piece of a paper, you fucking idiot. Using the Faz coin, you can go back into Scrap Trap's room and insert it into Rockstar Freddy's stomach, and then press 3 buttons on his body in an order listed on a piece of paper. This makes sense, by the way. This will cause his mouth to open, revealing the other pieces of paper you need. Slap those bitches on the projector and put them together like a puzzle, which, side note, is a pain in the ass for no reason. The controls are super janky. Slap the lever with your big Coke can penis, and have bitch Freddy read it. When he does, a door next to Rockstar Freddy will open with some bolt cutters inside. You can use these bolt cutters to cut the chains off of the fence and escape this level. This level might not seem as difficult as some of the other ones have, and while none of these levels are particularly difficult in terms of what you literally have to do, all of the levels, and this one specifically, build up so much stress and really test your nerve control. After jumping down some weird looking cellar door, we enter a new room with a computer in it. It shows an error that it detected human movement. Obviously, we just entered the room, of course. While reading through the files on the computer that detail a plan to revive someone through our corpse. Another human detection error shows up on screen. Knowing that we haven't moved, we turn around and get our shit smacked up by Vanny and get knocked out. Fun fact, you can actually spot Vanny spying on you in almost every other level in the game if you're looking closely enough. Just something cool I thought I'd bring up. We wake up to Vanny dragging us into an unknown room. And rather than me explaining what happens next, I'd rather just show you. Afterwards, we walk through what appears to be memories of the Bite of 87 events, and the game comes to a close. So, from a lore perspective, we were lured to this attraction by Vanny. You may remember at the beginning of the game we got a text from a friend telling us how cool this attraction is, and in the secret lore room, which turns out to be Vanny's secret room, she has a whiteboard full of steps on how to use remnants. One of the steps involves sending a message to someone, seemingly to lure them in, and what do you know, we got a message to come here. Also in that secret room is a tape that can be watched going over how to extract remnant from people. So what the goal seemingly was, using my enormous brain of theorization, the plan was to lure us to the attraction, extract remnant from us in order to give power to William Afton, which is what we are seeing happen in the final cutscene. Case closed. I'm a genius. But as far as I'm aware, that's all the glitched attraction has to offer.